Chapter 564. Zhang Qianlei's voice was like an unstoppable thunderclap, rolling in the depths of the clouds like a millstone, wanting to forcefully crush the mountain. An enormous pressure that could not be resisted fell from the sky. The friction between the pressure and the hard rock produced a painful sound. In the rustling sound, some small animals hiding in the snow around the mountain were startled and jumped out. They ran around like blind people and then fell to the ground, never to stand up again. Master Lei, please calm down. Yi Zhantian was shocked and took a step back. He bowed in horror. However, Yi Karen's eyes were also suddenly shocked. However, his legs were like pillars that crushed the ice and rocks, and he actually did not retreat. Master Lei, my father is trying to persuade you. It's for your own good. Yi Karen frowned and shouted. Yi Zhantian gave her a look and motioned her to keep quiet. Master Lei, that Jiang Taichu's cultivation is very powerful. In Dongyang, he once defeated 28 mixed army and air force brigades. My father told me that his physique, spiritual force, and martial arts are all at the peak of the immortal state. He is only one step away from the real immortal state. Haha, it's just that he has learned the art of metal manipulation. Modern military equipment is mainly made of metal. Jiang Taichu is using his strong points to attack the enemy's weak points. He can achieve twice the result with half the effort. Zhang Qianlei laughed. Although he had never met Jiang Tian, he knew him like the back of his hand. But I have reached the peak of the Taoist body and touched the edge of the immortal state. I can be called a half-step human immortal. Not to mention Kang Taichu, I can even withstand a nuclear explosion. No matter how strong Kang Taichu is, can he be more powerful than a nuclear weapon? A half-step human immortal. Yi Zhantian was shocked. Master Lei, you have reached the half-step human immortal state. Do you think I have been sitting here for decades for nothing? Zhang Qianlei looked up to the sky and roared like a madman. A violent spiritual force enveloped the entire mountain. Because he had been practicing the art of thunder for a long time, his eyes were fierce and violent. He laughed wildly. What is a human immortal? Cultivators of the Dharma had to comprehend the Great Tao. Within the Great Tao, there was a Dharma. Within the Dharma, there was a technique within the Dharma. Their confidence and determination would never waver. The chi of the 5 elements is formed by misunderstandings. Its form is firm, and the 8 evils cannot harm it. If the body does not die after 300 years, it is called a human immortal. Hearing this, Yi Zhantian's heart trembled violently. Suddenly, with a rumbling sound, the blood chi in his body boiled and a blood-red spiritual power condensed above his head. It was like a pillar supporting the sky, tearing apart the wind and snow, breaking through the clouds, reaching 500 meters high. Father has stepped into the deity realm. Moreover, his spiritual force interferes with reality so obviously. He's actually at the God state culmination. When Yi Karen saw this, he was shocked and his face was filled with disbelief. Thanks to Master Lei's guidance, Zhantian was able to break through to God realm greater mastery by 2 levels. Yi Zhantian was deeply shaken. He knelt on the ground to express his most sincere gratitude and respect to Zhang Qianlei. This battle is an unprecedented challenge for Kang Taichu. Yi Karen looked at Zhang Qianlei with awe. She had seen the peerless beauty of the sect leader of Kunlun, so she was somewhat disdainful of Zhang Qianlei. However, Zhang Qianlei enlightened her father with a few words and broke through the barrier that had trapped him for many years. It was obvious that Zhang Qianlei had a profound understanding of martial arts. At this moment, she could not help but look at Zhang Qianlei in a new light. At the same time, she began to worry about Jiang Tian. At the same time, Jiang Tian and Jiang Wan were leisurely building snowmen and having a snowball fight in Yuhua Mountain Villa, as if nothing had happened. Jiang Tian, you are too careless. I heard from Sister Qing'er that you have met a great master. Why don't you practice harder? Jiang Wan wrinkled her nose and snorted. What master? Cousin can beat him with one slap. Jiang Tian threw a snowball. Jiang Wan jumped more than a meter high and dodged it easily. Then she shook her head and said, Jiang Tian, your attitude is not right. Sharpening your spear before the battle, even if it is not fast, it is still bright. The teacher always says that before the exam. Don't worry, my spear is enough. Don't worry. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Jiang Tian, do you know that you are in danger this time? At this time, a heroic figure walked in quickly. Ha, Chao Jianjia, you are worried about me. Jiang Tian said with a smile, I remember that I almost choked you to death in Poyang village. That was a personal grudge. Now, it is a matter of right and wrong. After all, you have contributed to the country. I don't want to see you die. Chao Jianjia's pretty face blushed. Then she straightened her chest and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, and this time, Mr. Yi asked me to come. He asked me to pass a message to you. What? He went to Cloud Watching Peak to persuade Zhang Qianlei to stop. Zhang Qianlei only said a few words to help my master break through the barrier that has been blocking him for many years and successfully reach the God realm. Profound success. Chao Jinjia frowned and said, in this way, Mr. Yi will owe you a big favor and can't speak for you. Zhang Qianlei's strength seems to be able to suppress you. I am afraid that he is not a half-step human immortal, but he is close. Ha, I wanted to help old Yi break through once after this battle. I didn't expect Zhang Qianlei to do it first. What a good plan. Jiang Tian said with a faint smile. Why don't we call off this duel? Although the Lu family is insisting, the Song family has realized the seriousness of the matter. The Song family wants to return what they owe you now. Chao Jianjia said with a frown. It is too late. Jiang Tian shook his head and said. Now, in addition to taking back what belongs to me, I also want Song Shuangyan's life. Chao Jianjia's body stiffened. Although Yi Zhantian had told her that this was the result of her persuasion, she was still deeply shocked by Jiang Tian's domineering aura. Mr. Yi said that Zhang Qianlei has been practicing thunder art for decades. He is the best sword cultivator in the world. Besides that, he has been cultivating on the cloud peak of Mount Yen for many years. His soul energy has merged with the Mount Yen. Master Kong, please be careful. Chao Jianjia heaved a sigh and gave up on persuading Qin Fan. She turned around and left. Jiang Tian gazed at the northern outskirts of Mount Yen with a long gaze. Humph, thunder art. I have killed so many thunder art masters in my past life. Zhang Qianlei is nothing to me. Amidst the anticipation of the crowd, a full moon rose into the sky and night finally fell. It was the Shangyuan festival, the night of the full moon. Thank goodness we brought binoculars. Even with our status, we can only watch from the secondary peak. On the mountain path of Mount Yen, Yuan Ning heaved a sigh. Chen Jiafu and Yuan Ning had arrived in the afternoon, but they were blocked by the cordon and could only climb the Situa mountain. The first cordon was at the foot of Mount Yen and was guarded by Wei Rong district soldiers. Most tourists were stopped there and only a few Yen Jin families were allowed to climb the mountain. Even so, their mobile phones and other recording and communication devices were all unceremoniously taken away. After climbing the Situa mountain, a second warning line appeared on the mountain path leading to Cloud Watching Peak. Yuan Ning and Qin Jiafu were stopped there. It's good enough that we are here. It is only a few kilometers away. We can see it with binoculars. Qin Jiafu was satisfied. The highest peak, Cloud Watching Peak, was surrounded by armed Huaxia Dragon Group warriors. They were on high alert, and secular people were not allowed to climb the mountain. Even if your family is rich enough to rival a country, even if your family is powerful enough to overturn the heavens, you will not be allowed to pass. Most of the top political and business families such as the Xia family, the Gu family, the Han family and the Long family were there. Among them, there were also some martial arts masters below the divine realm, such as Zhang Shisan, who was thirsty for broadsword. Lu Zhenghua is here. And Song Bei Shan. Song Shuangyan. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, and the crowd parted like a tide. At this moment, Song Xuanyan was wearing a white dress with a white flower on her arm. Although her complexion was very haggard and full of sorrow, it instead made her look even more alluring. She was delicate and pitiful, beautiful to the point that it moved one's soul. Sister Xuanyan. Are you okay? Li Yanmei wanted to say hello to Song Xuanyan but was stopped by her father. Don't talk to her. She has no sense of propriety. How dare she offend Kang Taichu and kill so many people? Today, if Jiang Taichu wins, he will definitely massacre the Song clan. If you get too close to her, you will definitely be consigned to eternal damnation by her. The Li clan patriarch said earnestly. Hearing this, Li Yanmei's face froze. She was in a dilemma and looked embarrassed. He, Lord Lu and Lu Lishuan died because of her. She is a jinx. I heard that she was once engaged to Master Kong, the adjudicator. She broke off the engagement and publicly broke off the engagement. She made Master Kang's family so embarrassed. Say, her eyes are also watery. Could it be that she has dog eyes? She didn't see Master Kang's ability. She has eyes but can't see. She can't see the real person's face. You are wrong. I heard that she didn't get engaged. She tricked him into marrying her. She tricked Kang Taichu and didn't even return it. She is so careless. Song Xuanyan, you should be more careful. On the side, Han Qingli, Xia Lin, and the other socialites all looked at Song Xuanyan with schadenfreude as they whispered. Yanmei, I am fine. Let's talk later. Song Xuanyan heard this and continued to walk forward. However, her beautiful eyes dimmed. The Song family was not defeated and the war had not begun. However, she had become the laughing stock of the entire Yanjin. Everyone laughed at her. They laughed at her stupidity for missing out on Kang Taichu's treasure. They laughed at her greed for recklessly scheming against Kang Taichu's treasure. They laughed at her jinx for causing the death of her fiancé, Lu Lishuan, and causing a huge disaster. The head of the four beauties of Yanjin became the head of the Yanjin pig head. The smooth and slick female Zhuge became an idiot. Many people thought that Kang Taichu only had a 50% chance of winning the battle between Zhang Qianlei and Kang Taichu. However, it was still very unwise for her to offend such a martial arts master who destroyed the Bai family and shocked Huaxia. She was acting recklessly. After all, a family of politics and business was not a family of cultivation. The best strategy was to build a good relationship and hide one's strength. There was no need to be brave and ruthless. There was no need to take this kind of risk. They only needed to fight steadily. Everyone looked at the cloud-watching peak, full of nervousness and anticipation. There, the most powerful battle between Dharma spells and martial arts in Huaxia was about to start. Chapter 565. Halfway up the mountain, in a valley next to the winding mountain road, there was a group of young men and women leaning against a super sports car, smoking and chatting. Young Master Pan, do you think Kang Taichu will win this time, or Zhang Qianlei? The punk girl asked with a frown. How would I know? However, Kang Taichu probably won't kill me. Otherwise, I would have died long ago. Pan Jiejun's eyes were bloodshot. The warrior forum said that his flying sword can fly hundreds of miles and take a person's head. Ever since he found out that Jiang Tian was Kang Taichu, he had been uneasy and scared out of his wits. He followed his father's instructions and spoke cautiously. He never said a word of nonsense. Next to him, Wang Xinzhu smiled disdainfully. Look at how scared you are. Cultivators, flying in the sky and burrowing into the ground, shaking the army, and controlling lightning. It's like a Marvel comic. You have to believe in science, okay? Do you know how advanced technology is now? Do you know how advanced modern weapons are? Not to mention nuclear weapons, depleted uranium bombs, intercontinental missiles, and neutron bombs. Even a howitzer has a core temperature of thousands of degrees. Even if he was made of iron, he would be melted into molten steel. These days, she was almost driven crazy by Pan Jiajun and his group of friends. These people taught themselves hacking skills every day, cracked the warrior forum, and collected information about Kang Taechu. They even said that Kang Taechu could defeat a mixed brigade of the Japanese self-defense force. Look, is this something a human would say? As a top student, Wang Xinzhu had always believed in science. She didn't believe in these false rumors at all. Xinzhu has a point. A young master next to her pushed up his black-rimmed glasses and said, "You don't know how powerful modern weapons are. Take a missile for example. When the propellant burns in the combustion chamber, the combustion products are ejected backward, and the thrust obtained is very huge. An intercontinental ballistic missile with a range of more than 10,000 kilometers has an engine thrust of 100 tons and a power of a few million kilowatts. This power is equivalent to the power of a power plant to supply a city of 1 million people. Even if he was made of titanium alloy, he would be blown into a meat patty. Think about it, if there really are such monsters, how could they possibly survive? Even the great powers of the world would not allow such a monster that could shake the foundation of their rule and subvert the social order to exist. He would have been beaten to death long ago." This young master was Wang Xinzhu's boyfriend, Fan Yongqiang. His family was from the Ministry of Science and Technology, and he was also involved in weapon research and development in a military-industrial research institute. He was even more dismissive of their discussion. But that's what the forum said. There are also some photos. Pan Jiajun said unhappily. Fan Yongqiang puffed on the cigarette in his mouth and said disdainfully, "All of you are just a bunch of kids blindly researching. I suspect that the forum was set up by a bunch of fans of 2D or Xuanhuan novels. All the characters are fictional. What Kang Taechu, garlic is too spicy, onions are too long. Bah, what the hell is that? You guys actually believed it." Just as he was about to spit all over the place, suddenly, there was a rumbling sound, and a strange, mournful howl that sounded like a missile being launched was heard. The extremely complicated strange howl formed a deep roar, just like the strange sound of an airplane starting. Between the mountains in the distance, two burning golden lights pierced through like meteors catching up with the moon. The golden lights were so fast that they crossed the distance of 10 miles in just a few breaths and arrived in front of them. Under the faint moonlight, an old man wearing an apricot-yellow Taoist robe and carrying a peach-wood sword on his back and a young woman with a graceful figure were each stepping on a talisman that was emitting a myriad of golden light. The old man and the young girl stepped on the talisman and stood in the air. The golden light emitted by the talisman was like 1,000 rays of sunrise, illuminating the area and making them look like gods. This is, the cigarette in Fan Yongqiang's mouth fell to the ground. His mouth was wide open, and he was dumbfounded. Oh my God, could it be, all of this is real? Wang Xinzhu also felt that her worldview had been turned upside down. Yes, the indestructible worldview that she had built up over 10 years of hard work was shattered in an instant. I am a member of the Chinese Society of Singapore, a disciple of Master Kong, a feng shui master from Hong Kong, Su Majai. The old man chuckled, but his aura was so powerful that the surrounding trees and branches all fell down. He sneered and said, "You said something about Master Kong, and it seems that it is not very pleasant to hear. Please be careful with your words." I didn't say anything." Wang Xinzhu and Fan Yongqiang trembled in fear and almost knelt down on the ground. "How dare you disrespect Master Kong? You should be killed. But since it is your first offense, you will be punished with diarrhea for 3 days." The little witch from Hong Kong was a die-hard fan of Jiang Tian's. She was instantly enraged and threw out 2 talismans. "Ouch, I can't control myself. Where is the bathroom?" Wang Xinzhu and Fan Yongqiang suddenly felt a strong urge to go to the toilet. They held their stomachs with both hands and jumped into the grass. Su Majai's arrival was just the beginning. Soon, more and more overlords showed up. There was an old man wearing hemp clothes and straw sandals. He held a withered wooden staff and rode over on a giant python that was more than 10 meters long. The giant python was very magical. It could shrink and coiled around his neck like a necklace. His earrings were also two small snakes. Shitong Tian, the Grand Master of the snake witch sect in Southeast Asia. He has been cultivating for a long time and has joined the Chinese Society of Singapore as a disciple of Kang Te-chu. I heard that his junior martial brother fought with Zhang Qianlei several decades ago and was killed. Today, he might be here to help Jiang Tai-chu. Some overlords from the dark world discussed in shock. Then, many more overlords from other countries arrived. Some of them spread their bat-like wings and flew across the sky. They were marquises of the blood race and were only a step away from the blood ancestor. They were as powerful as immortal state warriors. Some of them were over 3 meters tall and had fangs. They were the overlords of the werewolves. Some of them were level X wind elemental superpower users. Some of them were wearing golden armor, which was a kind of mechanical exoskeleton that could merge with the body. They were overlords from the Blue Storm in the United States. Most of them were immortal state warriors or were as powerful as immortal state warriors. They had been hiding for many years and few people knew about them. Today, they were here to watch the battle between the immortal state warriors. Of course, the Heavenly Alliance was the most powerful one. Hua Qingtian, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, the leaders of the 6 martial arts families in Yanjin, the master of the Chinese Society in Singapore and Li Jinju, the master of the Tanjun Taoist Palace, arrived in black cloaks. There were a dozen half-step immortal state warriors and transcendent state warriors. Each of them was powerful and powerful. Their fighting spirit surged as if it were going to tear the earth and shatter the sky. Although there weren't many of them, they were like thousands of soldiers. Whoosh! A ray of sacred light pierced through the sky. The sacred light enveloped a European woman floating in the air. She was wearing a white gauze dress and a golden armor. She was holding a golden shield and a long spear. Her wavy brown hair was draped over her shoulders. Her eyes were as beautiful as a painting and her body was curvaceous. She was extremely sexy and beautiful. However, her temperament was ethereal, as if she were an elf who had fallen into the human world. She was holy and noble. Athena. She's one of the top 4 main gods and has reached the level of sage. She's only 1 step away from becoming a saint. She's much more powerful than Artemis. An expert from the blood race yelled in fear. The Hall of Gods fought for the Pope and the European government. They had fought several earth-shattering battles with the kindred in history. However, Athena wasn't there for them. She smiled and looked at the top of the mountain. Heavenly Master Zhang, are you not going to show up? My old friend is waiting for you. Her voice was soft and gentle, with a kind of ethereal and holy energy. It was as if an angel was whispering and an elf was singing. It was ethereal but shocking. Athena, how dare you set foot in Huaxia again? Aren't you afraid that I'll eat you alive? An earth-shaking roar soared into the sky like rolling thunder, enveloping a large area. The trees were shaken to the point that they rustled, and countless snowflakes and solid ice fell. Boom! A figure appeared above the cloud-watching peak like a ghost, walking in the air and approaching. Although the figure was thin and haggard, it had a monstrous power, as if an ancient demon had come into being. It was violent and violent, able to crush everything. Ha, we didn't know your strength back then and offended you. Please forgive us. Today, I'm only here to watch the battle. I have no hostility. Athena covered her chest with one hand and bowed politely like a medieval princess, but her aura was not weak at all. She was neither servile nor overbearing. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Athena had fought with Zhang Qianlei before. Few people knew about it, but at least Zhang Qianlei was not at a disadvantage. 60 years ago, Athena led a few paladins to Huaxia to steal the treasure, but she was defeated by Zhang Qianlei with one finger. She showed the power of Huaxia Taoism. An old man in a black and white Taoist robe walked in the air step by step. Every step he took, a Tai Chi yin-yang diagram appeared under his feet. He floated over like an immortal. Chuanjian sect leader, Qiu Xuanji. Taoist body has reached phenomenal success and is good at refining inner cores. Huo Qingtian's pupils constricted when he saw this person. Huo Qingtian's face flashed with a trace of respect. He was actually from Shaolin Temple, but Shaolin Temple was seriously corrupted by the secular world and went on the road of commercialization. Many of its inheritances were lost and could not be compared to Chuanjian sect. We haven't seen each other for 40 years and you are even more powerful than before. The gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. I don't have the face to see you anymore. Qiu Xuanji bowed to Zhang Qianlei and his body bent into a crescent shape. It was the bow of the Taoist sect, showing his fear and respect for Zhang Qianlei. I'll give you some advice later. Zhang Qianlei only nodded to Qiu Xuanji, looking extremely arrogant. I can't see through your cultivation anymore. I'm afraid you are invincible. Maybe the reclusive Yi Tianren can fight with you. Qiu Xuanji shook his head and sighed, feeling like a hero past his prime. Yi Tianren? Zhang Qianlei raised his white eyebrows and snorted coldly. After I kill Kang Te Chu, I'll find Hong Meng and see Yi Tianren's supreme technique. Chapter 566. The conversation between the two spellcasters silenced the entire mountain. Only the howling wind could be heard. No one dared to say anything. Even the wealthy families like Lu Jinghua and Song Beishan didn't dare to say anything. As he spoke, Zhang Qianlei landed on the peak. He looked at Athena with a proud expression and snorted coldly. Hm. At least you understand that apart from Zeus, no one else among the 12 chief gods is qualified to fight with me. Athena could only let out a wry smile. Only Zeus had reached the level of saint among the 12 main gods. Zhang Qianlei had already seen the truth of the mortal deity, so he wasn't being arrogant. Damn you, heavenly lord. Zhang Qianlei no longer paid any attention to Athena. His eyes were filled with violent fighting spirit as he scanned the surroundings and bellowed, damn it. Kang Te Chu, come out and face your death. You've made me wait for too long. He was small and skinny, but he spoke with a loud voice. His roar was so loud that it could be heard within 10 kilometers. Even the city of Beijing could vaguely hear him. Everyone on the mountain was so shocked that they almost fainted. However, everyone suppressed that feeling of discomfort. They were very nervous as they stared at the peak without blinking. This was because everyone knew that an earth-shattering battle between the strongest cultivators was about to begin. Whether Zhang Qianlei, the best spellcaster, or Kang Te Chu, the most powerful martial artist, would win would be revealed tonight. Zhang Qianlei, why are you in such a hurry to die? I'm coming. A ray of dark light shot from the sky and pierced through the sky at extreme speed. It was like a fighter jet breaking the sound barrier, making a roaring sound that was as shocking as the cries of thousands of ghosts. The dark light suddenly stopped and a tall figure appeared. He stood proudly in the sky and stepped on the clouds as if he were stepping on invisible stairs. Jiang Tian was wearing a white robe that fluttered in the cold wind. His long hair fluttered like a waterfall. His gunmetal divine body was handsome and flawless. His temperament was ethereal, and his battle intent was surging. He was like a celestial being that had descended to the mortal world. He is Kang Te Chu. He's so fast. Upon seeing this, Athena's expression changed and her heart skipped a beat. This speed had already broken the sound barrier and was close to that of Zeus. No wonder Zeus valued Kang Te Chu so much. At this moment, everyone held their breaths as they looked at Jiang Tian. The overlords of the Dark World, the families in Yanjin and the overlords of the Sky Alliance couldn't stay calm. Kang Te Chu, you're so arrogant. Aren't you going to kneel down after seeing me? Zhang Qianlei's eyes shot out a strange light as he stared at Jiang Tian like two bolts of cold lightning. This voice contained boundless killing intent, murderous, violent, and cold. Within a radius of 5 kilometers, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged uneasily. Suddenly, it transformed into a soaring dragon, a leaping tiger, and a dancing phoenix. The divine sound was like a blade, as if it wanted to destroy everything in the world, and slashed towards Jiang Tian. It hurts. Countless people covered their ears and screamed in pain. They felt as if they were being stared at by the god of death. Except for the half-step immortal state overlords, no one could withstand it. They all felt that the world was spinning and they couldn't even stand still. This is the sonorous sound of the great Tao. It's the sound caused by the Dharma power penetrating the world. Qiu Xuanji was shocked. This was one of the signs of the peak Tao body. It was far more powerful than the art of speech. It could mobilize the essence qi of heaven and earth and form a sound wave attack. It could easily kill a peak stage transcendent state overlord. The sonorous sound of the great Tao. The sonorous sound of the great Tao. The sect master of the Maoshan sect murmured as his eyes were filled with fanaticism as if he had seen a god. You're just an old man with one foot in the coffin. How dare you call yourself a peak stage Tao body? You're shameless. Jiang Tianlong used the demonic sound chant, and a sound wave rushed out. Every note was as heavy as a mountain, as sonorous as a sword or a spear, as if it was the cry of metal and stone. It was as if a series of invisible heavy cannons had been fired, drawing white turbulence in the air and stirring up circles of ripples, bombarding Zhang Qianlei's sonorous sound of the great path. With a boom, the two sound waves clashed in the air. Suddenly, it was as if a cannonball had been fired. A few hundred kilograms of boulders cracked and flew into the air. The trees that were large enough to hold a man's arms exploded. Wood chips and fibers flew in the air along with ice and snow. This is terrifying. It's just a sound wave attack, but it's already so powerful. This kind of destructive power can easily kill a grandmaster. Countless people were shocked. Huh? Kang Te Chu, this is not a simple sound wave attack. It looks similar to the lion's roar of Buddha, but it's actually very different. It contains powerful soul energy. What kind of cultivation art do you practice? Seeing this, Zhang Qianlei was shocked and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. He did not expect Jiang Tian to be able to break his sonorous sound of the great path. If you beat me, I'll tell you. Otherwise, you don't have the right to know. Jiang Tian landed on the mountain peak and walked towards Zhang Qianlei with his hands behind his back as if he was taking a stroll in the park. He smiled faintly and was brimming with confidence. Zhang Qianlei's sonorous sound of the great path was far superior to Miyamoto Geniki's sound wave attack. Miyamoto Geniki used sword chi, which was not much different from a martial artist's chi. Zhang Qianlei, on the other hand, used a secret technique that could easily mobilize the world's essence chi. The chi in his body was limited, while the world's essence chi was endless. Zhang Qianlei was actually superior. It could be said that if Jiang Tian was only at the 5th level of qi refinement, he would have to avoid Zhang Qianlei. But now, he was at the 6th level of qi refinement. His physique, qi, and soul energy were more than 10 times stronger. Jiang Tian was confident that he could destroy him. Little brat, you're so arrogant. Then I'll beat you until you kneel down and admit defeat. Hearing this, Zhang Qianlei was enraged. His face was as ferocious as a demon's and endless anger spewed out of his eyes. He charged at Jiang Tian without hesitation. In response, Jiang Tian directly took out the black iron shuttle. With a whoosh, it broke through the air and pierced toward Zhang Qianlei's head at an extreme speed. The two of them didn't waste any time and the battle immediately began. Jiang Tian looked relaxed on the outside but was tense on the inside. In fact, he was fully prepared for this battle and had refined the black iron shuttle again. There were many black lines on the shuttle, each of which was a talisman that increased attack and speed. Each talisman line was powerful enough to easily kill a transcendent grandmaster, not to mention there were hundreds of them. Thousands of them gathered on the sharp tip of the shuttle and pierced towards Zhang Qianlei's forehead. This attack could be said to be indestructible. It could even destroy a powerful missile. Clang! Zhang Qianlei's withered right hand, which was like a withered branch, instantly became sparkling and translucent like jade. His eyes shone with boundless coldness. He actually used 2 fingers to clamp the sharp edge of the shuttle. Peak Dao Body. This is the Peak Dao Body. Kang Taechu's shuttle can penetrate a tank and blow up a fighter jet, but it was still stopped by Master Lei. Countless people from the Taoist sects exclaimed in surprise. Zhang Jiwei jumped up in excitement. Zhang Qianlei is so powerful. On the other hand, Hua Qingtian and the other Heaven Alliance members narrowed their eyes in worry. Whoosh! However, Zhang Qianlei didn't feel good. He felt that Jiang Tian's shuttle was like a high-speed train that contained infinite power. His body suddenly stagnated and the ice and rocks under his feet cracked. He even slid a step back. Then, he tilted his right hand. Whoosh! The black iron shuttle directly disappeared into the hard granite as if it had stabbed into tofu, leaving only a bowl-sized and unfathomable black hole. Little bastard, you're still too weak compared to me. Go to hell. And he had already sped up again, faster than lightning, and pounced in front of Jiang Tian. His murderous intent shook the world and was extremely violent. His attack was simple and direct. His fist contained the power of the Dao Body and hit Jiang Tian like a raging wave. Why didn't Master Lei use his best Dharma spells but chose to fight hand-to-hand? Seeing this, an overlord exclaimed in confusion. Once the Dao Body is formed, it will be indestructible and indestructible for 300 years. The physique of a warlock at this stage is far stronger than that of an immortal state overlord. Zhang Jiwei snorted proudly and looked at the overlord with disdain and arrogance. Many overlords nodded. When one cultivated the Dao Body, there would be a qualitative change. The qi of the 5 elements would converge and be close to a half-step human deity. Zhang Qianlei used his pure physical strength to play to his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. Kang Taechu was in danger this time. Ha, you like to talk shit. You don't look like a Taoist master at all. Jiang Tian mocked him, but he didn't show any mercy. He directly used the gung metal divine body. His right hand formed a palm and a fiery golden light surrounded it. It drew a white mark in the air and slapped towards Zhang Qianlei's fist. Boom! The earth shook and the mountains shook. The entire cloud-watching peak trembled violently as if it was about to collapse. The two of them didn't use any energy waves this time. They were purely competing with their bodies. But the damage was too great. Like a nuclear explosion, violent energy waves spread in all directions like waves hitting the shore. Around them, hundreds of kilograms of rocks were thrown into the air like plastic bubbles. The thick trees were snapped and fell like withered grass. Some were even turned into powder in an instant. With the two of them as the center, unfathomable cracks that were a few centimeters wide spread out like a spider web. Thump, thump, thump. Zhang Qianlei kept stepping back. Every time he took a step back, his feet would sink a few centimeters into the rock and the ground would crack. He took 5 steps back before he could stabilize himself. And Jiang Tian. Just like the towering Taihang, he didn't move at all. His face was calm as if he had just casually swatted away a fly. Kang Taechu, even if you've reached the peak stage of the immortal state, your body shouldn't be so strong. Zhang Qianlei's face turned pale and fear appeared on his face for the first time. Not even Yi Tianren can withstand my Dao Body. Your Dao Body is just trash in my eyes. I can crush you in 3 rounds. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently, and his arrogance shot into the sky. It was as if Zhang Qianlei was an ant that he could casually crush. He's too strong. What kind of monster is Kang Taechu? He can take on the Dao Body head-on. Qiu Xuanji exclaimed in disbelief. He was a cultivator of the Dharma, so he naturally knew how powerful the Dao Body was. At the peak of the Dao Body, it was almost indestructible. It was in harmony with the world and contained surging power. A single attack could overturn rivers and seas, a single force could uproot mountains and break rivers, but Jiang Tian was actually able to block it so easily, it was just too unbelievable. Zhang Qianlei doesn't have much of a chance of winning this battle. The sect master of the Maoshan sect looked serious for the first time. Not necessarily. Athena shook her head and said in a hollow voice. When Zhang Qianlei fought me back then, he showed more than that. Sure enough, Zhang Qianlei didn't give up and attacked again. Move the mountain. Amid the violent roar, Zhang Qianlei kicked the ground and jumped up like a mad tiger. He held his hands as if he was hugging the void. Chapter 567. At that moment, Zhang Qianlei's eyes were wide open, and his face was as red as blood. His rising speed became slower and slower as if he was being hindered by an invisible force. In the end, when he reached the limit and was about to fall, he twisted his waist and pushed with both hands, turning around and smashing down. That smash seemed light on the surface, but in the eyes of many experts, it was as heavy as a mountain. He smashed down with the air, as if an ancient god had picked up Mount Buzhou and smashed it to the ground. It was unbelievably powerful. The first level of half-step human deity, the mountain-moving level. Qiu Xuanji's eyes suddenly became fanatical, and his body trembled with excitement. Only those who had reached the half-step human deity level could move the terrifying spirit qi of heaven and earth from their surroundings and forcefully compress it into their spells. Every wisp of Dao Qi contained terrifying spirit qi of heaven and earth, which could unleash terrifying power in a fight. Mountain moving. It will definitely cause an imbalance in the spirit qi of heaven and earth. Where did you lose the spirit qi? The Maoshan sect master and the others looked around with strange lights in their eyes. They seemed to want to see if Zhang Qianlei had really reached such a level. Jiang Tian's divine sense had already sensed it clearly. 10 kilometers away, a mountain that was more than a few hundred meters tall and stretched for several miles looked like a chafed radish or a grain eaten by worms. The essence of the earth qi in the entire mountain was instantly sucked dry by Zhang Qianlei, and it became riddled with holes. Between Zhang Qianlei's hands, there was chaos and extremely heavy, containing all the earth qi essence of the mountain. It was so vivid that it looked like a small sea mountain. With this attack, not to mention a tank or an armored vehicle, even a super battleship would be smashed into pieces. You really moved the entire mountain. Your control of the spirit qi of heaven and earth is extraordinary, far beyond Wei Shuofeng, Gong Yuanji, and the others. Unfortunately, you met me. In response, Jiang Tian only smiled faintly. Suddenly, rays of golden light burst out of his eyes. He stomped on the ground and soared into the sky, punching out with an indomitable force. You want to use your body to resist my green bamboo mountain's earth qi? You're too arrogant. Seeing this scene, even Zhang Qianlei was shocked. His face was filled with disbelief. If Jiang Tian didn't know anything and took the mountain-moving strike head-on, it would be excusable. However, he was already aware of the situation, yet he did not evade the attack and used his physical body to take it head-on. This was simply courting death. At this moment, the green bamboo peak had already revealed its true form. It continued to expand like a building, towering between heaven and earth, smashing down on Jiang Tian. Before the aura of the mountain range arrived, the surging pressure arrived first. First, the ground that was full of ice trembled and cracked. Soon after, the towering trees shook violently, as if they had been slapped down by the giant hands of the giant miracle god. They snapped and fell to the ground, and countless branches and leaves turned into fine powder in an instant. In the end, the boulders exploded one after another like ignited firecrackers. The rubble flew through the air and swept up thousands of piles of snow. Retreat quickly. We can't fight against such a mighty force of heaven and earth. Many transcendent state cultivators were in excruciating pain, as if a blade was scraping their bones. Every inch of their flesh was about to be torn apart. They couldn't bear it anymore and hurriedly retreated to the side of the mountain like shooting stars. "Hm. Do you think you can hurt me with that little bit of earth qi?" Only Jiang Tian was fearless. He moved forward and fully displayed the power of the gung metal divine body. His body was surrounded by an infinite amount of light. His golden body, golden hair, and golden eyes were enveloped in a golden aura and thousands of auspicious colors. He was like a Buddha or a god descending to the mortal world. At this moment, his entire body turned into 100-meter-long golden light beam. There seemed to be nothing left in the world except for this dazzling golden light. Sharp and powerful. Sharp and indestructible. Body-forming weapon. There are still people who can cultivate such a secret technique? Seeing this, Zhang Qianlei was shocked and he couldn't believe it. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Whoosh! That golden light beam carried all of Jiang Tian's power. It was powerful and sharp, as if it could pierce through an aircraft carrier. There was a loud rumble. The surging and heavy earth qi was penetrated by Jiang Tian and then exploded uncontrollably. The entire peak was a mess. More than half of it had been indiscriminately hit by missiles and other heavy firepower. Huge pits with a radius of 10 meters and a depth of more than 3 meters appeared. The golden light faded and Jiang Tian once again formed the gunmetal divine body. He stood proudly in the void like a god descending to the world. It's mountain move. This is the mountain move of a half-step human immortal. The people of the Heavenly Alliance were excited and cheered. However, Zhang Qianlei had already attacked again. Kang Te-chu, I didn't expect you to be able to break my mountain move. Very good. Today's battle was truly satisfying. However, I believe that the martial Dao is absolutely incomparable to the sorcery Dao. Today, I'll definitely kill you to the point that not even dregs remain to prove my supreme Dao. Seeing this, Zhang Qianlei was not discouraged. Instead, he became more irritable and his battle intent rose again. His silver hair was like dragons and his eyes were filled with endless killing intent. Thunder, come! Zhang Qianlei shouted explosively with a voice that resounded like a bell, and it reverberated through the heavens and the earth while its might swept through the surroundings. He rose to the sky and raised his right hand. With this move, his figure suddenly became majestic, like a pillar that supported the heavens. It was as if his hand had already risen above the 9 heavens. Then, he pulled his hand down. 3,000 meters in the sky, the sea of clouds churned and large gray clouds suddenly rolled and rubbed against each other like millstones. Boom! Boom! Silver snakes danced among the clouds and golden pythons pierced through the sky. A bolt of lightning that was more than 100 meters long and as thick as a bucket was pulled by his hand like the Milky Way falling from the 9 heavens. The cold winter attracts the summer thunder, defying the heavens and following one's heart. The Heaven Awakening Stage. The second stage of a half-step human immortal, the Heaven Awakening Stage. Oh my god! Look at Huaxia. It's the first time someone has reached the Heaven Awakening Stage in 100 years. A real half-step human immortal. The eyes of countless Dharma cultivators were filled with tears. In the Age of Doom, the spirit chi of heaven and earth was thin and cultivation resources were scarce. The shackles were difficult to break. Many people thought that the Tao body was the end of the road, but Zhang Qianlei's cultivation level gave them hope. The hope of becoming an immortal. Spells and martial arts, one used the essence chi of heaven and earth to form spells, the other used the spirit chi of heaven and earth to strengthen oneself, but they were different ways to the same end. Above the Tao body and immortal state was the half-step human immortal, and above that was the real human immortal. There were 3 stages in the half-step human immortal. The mountain-moving stage, the Heaven Awakening stage, and the longevity stage. The so-called Heaven Awakening stage was the enlightenment of the heavenly Tao. The body was like a glass mirror, pure and flawless and merged with the world. The body was like a key to open the Tao of heaven and earth. It could directly mobilize a large amount of spirit chi of heaven and earth and do things according to one's will. To be able to reach the Heaven Awakening stage and control the most explosive lightning energy in the world, Zhang Qianlei was only a step away from becoming a real human immortal. Kang Te-chu, no matter how powerful you are, you can't resist my heavenly thunder strike. Zhang Qianlei held a bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket and looked like a giant python with infinite power, as if the god of thunder had descended. The lightning enveloping him was dazzling and bright, illuminating a few miles. The snow, Dead trees and rocks were all covered in a layer of dazzling white, making the full moon in the sky and the lights in the city pale in comparison. Hua Xia's spells are really profound. Seeing this scene, even Athena was stunned. She said in shock, "The lightning he pulled down is completely natural. It's not inferior to Zeus's divine thunder at all." "Zhang Qianlei, is that all you've got? Come, let me break your heavenly thunderstrike." Jiang Tian smiled coldly, delighted at the sight of a prey. After returning, he had seen the lightning Dharma treasures of the Celestial Master sect more than once, but it was the first time he encountered a lightning spell. To be honest, even in the cultivation world, there were not many people who could control lightning spells as easily as Zhang Qianlei. At this time, Jiang Tian had already observed that Zhang Qianlei was actually a lightning spirit, or rather, a lightning talent and ability user. He happened to be born in the Celestial Master sect, which was famous for its lightning spells, and received the true teachings. Such a rare combination of talent and luck created a peerless powerhouse like him. "I'm your grandpa. Today, I'm going to destroy your body and soul, not leaving a trace." Zhang Qianlei had a bad temper, but Jiang Tian was a master of trash talk. He was so angry at Jiang Tian's words that he fumed and gnashed his teeth. With a furious roar, he waved his right hand. The terrifying lightning was like a furious dragon emerging from the sea, shining with a dazzling light. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, pouncing on Jiang Tian. "Break it!" In response, Jiang Tian shouted in a low voice. For the first time, he really made a move. He waved his right hand and slashed down like a knife cutting water. Qi! A dazzling golden qi weapon that was 30 meters long slashed at the lightning dragon like the Milky Way falling from the ninth heaven. Boom! The golden long saber slashed on the lightning dragon, and immediately there was a roar and explosion. The dragon-like lightning rolled and shrank as if it was struggling. Immediately after, the Gengjin saber radiance pressed forward and cut the lightning dragon into several pieces. The lightning collapsed, and like small snakes that had encountered an owl, they drilled into the ground in fear and disappeared. Immeasurable heavenly venerable. This kid can break my ninth heaven divine thunder. He must be the reincarnation of the old demon. Seeing this scene, the hot-tempered Zhang Qianlei couldn't believe it at first, then he cursed. He was shocked. The ninth heaven divine thunder was no joke. It was 10,000 degrees high and could melt everything. Not to mention a mortal body, even a peerless divine weapon would be turned into molten steel in an instant. He was even confident that he could seriously injure Yi Tianren with this blow. But now, his ninth heaven divine thunder didn't even touch the corner of Jiang Tian's clothes. It was destroyed by Jiang Tian's wave of hand. Who knew that after breaking through to the 6th level of Qi refinement, Jiang Tian's 7th metal divine body, true essence, and spirit power were all powerful. At this time, his 7th metal true essence was boiling and surging like the sea. It was abundant and thick, and the condensed Qi weapon was also solid. Moreover, the 7th metal true essence was the sharpest and most condensed thing in the world. It could cut everything and destroy all living things. It could also guide thunder and lightning, which was the nemesis of thunder spells. Kill, kill, kill. Today, if I don't beat you into a braised lion's head, if I don't turn you into a barbecue, I swear I'm not a human. For a moment, Zhang Qianlei didn't understand this. It was just that his fighting spirit and anger surged like a prairie fire, rising into the sky and burning the sky. He was very brave and his eyes were as sharp as knives as he pounced on Jiang Tian. Chapter 568. Boom! Zhang Qianlei threw a punch. It was as powerful as a missile, leaving a white mark in the air. Wherever the fist passed, the void distorted and trembled as if it was about to be annihilated. Old man, you're no match for me. Jiang Tian activated his gunmetal divine body. His long golden hair flowed like a waterfall and his long robe fluttered in the wind. He used his gunmetal divine body to fight against a half-step human deity of the heavenly enlightenment state. The other party was already at the peak stage of the Tao body and was stronger than a diamond. The two of them were evenly matched. It was like Mars colliding with Earth. Clang! The two fists collided and sparks flew everywhere. It was as if a yellow bell had been rung, shocking everyone's eardrums. The sparks were actually because Jiang Tian's fist was broken. Although it wasn't serious, it was the first time Jiang Tian's gunmetal divine body had been damaged in a fight with a human. Half of Zhang Qianlei's fist was shattered. Blood, flesh and broken bones splashed in the air like fireworks. Form! But Zhang Qianlei shouted and used a secret art. A strange scene happened. Like a rewind camera, the splattered blood, flesh, and broken bones suddenly condensed into his fist. The peak stage of the Tao body is sublimated to the extreme. Half-step human deity, the heavenly enlightenment state, can move at will and control the body at will. Kang Te Chu, you can't kill me even if you tire yourself to death. Zhang Qianlei laughed complacently. You talk too much. Jiang Tian shouted angrily and slapped down with his golden palm. Boom! A giant golden palm more than 5 meters long fell from the sky and smashed half of Zhang Qianlei's body. Heavenly Venerate of Wuliang's mother. You're really ruthless. Zhang Qianlei flew into a rage and let loose a torrent of abuse. He executed a series of secret techniques, condensed his body, and changed his appearance. It was the young man in an azure robe, Zhang Qianlei. He was tall and muscular, with black hair draped over his shoulders. Heavenly Venerate of Wuliang's mother, I'm actually at the longevity state. Brat, you've made me really angry. Go to hell. Rejuvenation, this kind of miracle that only appeared in legends, had appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Shocking, too shocking. Zhang Qianlei is so strong. He has actually reached the peak of the half-step human immortal stage, the longevity stage. Trump card after trump card. He's using all his trump cards. Kang Te Chu is also domineering. Just his strong physique alone is enough to break through all techniques. We've met our match in this battle. It's unprecedented. Qiu Xuanji, the Maoshan sect master, the people from the Heaven Alliance, and the experts from the Dark World were all speechless. At this moment, everyone had forgotten the cause of the battle between the two. The Song clan and the Lu clan were nothing but ants and dust. Worldly dignitaries were not even worth mentioning. Only the supreme Taoist arts and the ultimate evolution of the peak of the martial Tao were worthy of their attention. It was as if all the background had dimmed and vanished. Between heaven and earth, only these two powerful figures were left. I have forgotten everything, I have forgotten everything. Watching the battle between Kang Te Chu and Zhang Qianlei is like drinking wine. It's so satisfying. Qiu Xuanji took out an ancient ceramic wine bottle and took a big gulp. He was already drunk. Bang! 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 Their fists and feet were swinging, and the sound of their bodies colliding was like continuous thunder. It was as if heavy cannons were exploding on the top of Cloud-Watching Peak. Immeasurable Heavenly Lord, if I don't trample you under my feet today, I'll change my surname to yours. The young man, Zhang Qianlei, had a fiery temper. His thick black hair danced in the wind, and his fighting spirit soared into the sky. Every time he swung his fist, it seemed to have the power to shatter heaven and earth. He was like the fighting immortal Buddha who broke Taishang Laojuan's alchemy furnace. He wanted to flatten the mountains and pierce through the sky with his staff. His longevity stage Taoist body was extremely powerful, and his fighting spirit soared into the sky. His temperament was like thunder and fire, and his killing intent was terrifying. With a shake of his shoulder, the earth shook and the mountains shook. With a punch, the sun and moon dimmed. With a stomp, the stars moved. It was extremely terrifying. You stinky old Taoist, you have a bad temper, all brawn and no brain. I don't want a descendant like you. However, Jiang Tian's fist techniques were even more powerful, and his style was ever-changing. Sometimes he was like an old ape circling a tree, sometimes a dragon flying in the sky, sometimes an eagle soaring in the sky, sometimes a fish swimming in the shallow water. Sometimes he was simple and majestic, sometimes he was fierce and violent, sometimes he was calm and peaceful, and sometimes he was tricky, like a poisonous snake spitting out its tongue. Between opening and closing, the Tao was natural, and between stretching and stretching, it was in accordance with the heavenly Tao. Jiang Tian's figure was as heavy and majestic as 10,000 mountains in an instant. Sometimes he was as smooth as the clouds in the sky, and sometimes he was as swift as the fire in the mountains. He was as strong as steel, as flexible as a bow, and as soft as cotton. Sacred Heart King Fist, 6 Nirvana Fist, Primordial Chaos Fist, sets of immortal fist techniques from the cultivation world were displayed by Jiang Tian to his heart's content. Among the different fist techniques, the connection was as smooth as moving clouds and flowing water. It was so wonderful that it was untraceable. The crowd had never seen or heard of these fist techniques before. They looked like the fist techniques of a banished immortal who had descended to the mortal world. One of them was at the peak of the Taoist physique and had been sublimated to the longevity realm. The other was the 1 in 10,000 in the cultivation world, the Gengjin divine physique. His movement and speed were so fast that it was beyond the limit of what the human eye could see. In the end, only 2 afterimages, one white and one green, were left on the mountain peak, swimming and soaring in the sky. Everyone was dizzy from watching. Their hearts almost jumped out of their throats. Boom! There was a loud sound. Suddenly, the 2 figures came together and separated. They each retreated more than 200 meters and stood on the mountain rock. Only then did the crowd see. Jiang Tian's clothes had been torn, and the golden light on his body was sometimes dim and sometimes shining. In some places, the golden light had fallen off, and blood flowed out like mercury. The young man, Zhang Qianlei, was not much better. His hair was messy, and he was panting like a cow. His left fist had been shattered, and his chest had been blown up. Blood flowed out and dyed his Taoist robe red, revealing his white bones. They could not restore their constitutions. It was obvious that the 2 of them had consumed a lot of energy in this battle and could no longer display their peak combat power. Awesome, awesome. Kang Taechu, you are the most powerful person I have ever seen in my life. If you and I can survive this battle, this old man is willing to make incense with you and become sworn brothers with you. The young man, Zhang Qianlei, was sweating profusely. He grinned strangely, showing his heroic and detached side. His bright eyes could not hide the excitement and appreciation. Bah! You think too highly of yourself. You are worthy of being Kang Taechu's brother. You are only worthy of being my lackey. Jiang Tian's face was full of disdain, but in fact, he admired Zhang Qianlei a little. He and Zhang Qianlei were not mortal enemies. Zhang Qianlei had never hurt Jiang Tian before. He was not a cunning, sinister, ambitious, or evil person. He was different from those rascals in White Emperor City. He had only attacked tonight to repay the kindness of the Lu and Song families. From this point of view, Zhang Qianlei could even be said to be a heroic and righteous person. It was just that their standpoints were different. On a deeper level, their battle was the ultimate battle of spells and martial arts. It was the ultimate battle of trump cards. It was like 2 stars in the night sky flying forward along a fixed trajectory and colliding with fate. Even if the Lu and Song families did not push them behind the scenes, they would still cross paths and have a shocking battle. Immeasurable Celestial Venerable, this Taoist grandpa can't stand your arrogance. Hearing that, Zhang Qianlei was so angry that he stomped his feet. He was like a smelly monkey on a hot iron plate, gritting his teeth. But the last sentence was a kind reminder. I will not hold back in the next attack. Be careful, kid. If you can withstand this move of mine, I'll consider it my loss. I can even carry your shoes. What are you talking about? The soup my wife made for me is about to turn cold. Hurry up and attack, I want to go back and drink the soup. Jiang Tian waved his hand disdainfully. You don't have a wife, right? Are you a single dog for life? No one to warm your bed, right? How pitiful. Ha, you're talking to me about this in the middle of a battle? Zhang Qianlei was speechless. Good, very good. I like it when you provoke me. The greatest respect for your opponent is to kill with all your strength, leaving no room for negotiation. I hope you and I can do the same and fight with all our cultivation. Zhang Qianlei's eyes shone with a strange light. He suddenly grabbed at the void with both hands, as if he was going to tear the sky apart each time. Then, Zhang Qianlei's body suddenly became blazing, and a dazzling white light penetrated his body. In that instant, under the illumination of the blazing white light, his body became transparent. Every inch of bone, every piece of organ, every strand of muscle, every meridian and blood vessel was clearly visible. One could even see their powerful beating. Divine thunder of the 9 heavens, great Tao chains, kill. Zhang Qianlei's eyes emitted blazing lightning in a frenzied manner. The lightning surged like a tide. The white light penetrating his body turned out to be the divine thunder of the 9 heavens. They were so dense that they could not be distinguished from one another. They burst out like flames. Countless lightning bolts interwove into chains of lightning that shot out in all directions like divine chains. Whoosh! The lightning intertwined into chains of the great Tao that contained the power of the laws. Each chain was like a dragon, spreading out with Zhang Qianlei as the center. Clang clang clang. Amidst the ear-piercing screeching and the dazzling lightning, the lightning as thick as an arm formed a net of lightning covering an area of 3 li, shrouding and penetrating Jiang Tian. The lightning was shockingly huge. There were countless of them, and they intertwined into a net. It felt like it was covering the sky and the sun, and there was no way to avoid it. Moreover, its power was unimaginable. Each lightning bolt contained endless power of lightning, and could easily crush a half-martial realm expert. This is the power of the laws. This is rumored to be something that only a real immortal man can use. On Haituo Mountain, Qiu Xuanji was shocked to see this scene. He felt a chill run down his spine, and a liter of white wine turned into cold sweat. Is Celestial Master Zhang already a real immortal man? Oh my god! This is too shocking. The Maoshan sect master trembled with excitement. His face was full of shock and tears. No, Master once said that there is still a long way to go before he becomes an immortal man. This is him using the power of the laws with his life on the line. Zhang Jiwei's eyes glistened with tears as he said worriedly. If he uses it continuously, he can only last an hour at most before he dies. Chapter 569. Song Beishan, my master has risked his life for the Song family. If my master dies today, I'll teach the Song family and the Lu family a lesson. 2 powerful cultivators fought each other and forced Master Lei to use the power of a mortal deity. Some disciples of the Celestial Master sect yelled at Song Beishan with hatred and tears rolling down their cheeks. Only a mortal deity can use the power of the law of heaven and earth. This is Zhang Qianlei's real trump card. Countless perfected cultivators were shocked and shook their heads. Even Master Hengba, Yang Guochang and the Master of the Snake Witch sect, who were on Jiang Tian's side, looked at him with admiration. It wasn't that they didn't support Jiang Tian, nor did they have any ulterior motives. Instead, as sorcerers, they knew very well how difficult and terrifying this attack was. Lightning was the most violent and unstable form of energy in the natural world. Its trajectory and shape were constantly changing, making it hard to predict. If one wanted to rely on manpower to control it, even with modern equipment, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. This was its rule. However, Zhang Qianlei was amazing. He used his supreme art and his own law to form a stable shape and intertwine the chain and the net. It wasn't something a human could do. He was a real immortal. It was like a myth. Victory or defeat will depend on this. The people of the Heavenly Alliance, Lu Zhenghua, Song Beishan, and Song Shuangyan were all shocked. At this moment, their hearts were in their throats and their faces were full of shock and horror. The chain formed by the divine thunder of the 9 heavens reached the sky and the earth. The blazing light made the sun and the moon dim. Even the people in Yanjin could see it with their own eyes. Such a spectacular scene and such a great power was not a spell. It was clearly a spell cast by a deity. It was even more terrifying than the thunder god's hammer. Zhang Qianlei, you're indeed a talented cultivator. You can understand your own law and control the divine thunder so well. If I met your heavenly thunder net half a year ago, I would have to avoid it and use all my strength. On cloud observing peak, Jiang Tian had his hands behind his back as he looked at the net of lightning that descended from the sky and covered the sky with a calm expression. But now, my gung-metal divine body has already reached great success. It can be said that other than nuclear weapons and intercontinental missiles, nothing in this world can hurt me. What's more, the metal element physique is incomparably tough and dense to begin with. The thing it fears the least is lightning attacks. All right. It's time to end this. In the next moment, Jiang Tian let out a low shout and stomped his right foot on the ground. The ground shook violently, and with the help of the surging rebound force, his body rose up like a dragon. His right hand grabbed at the air like a dragon's claw, grabbing at the thick lightning bolts. Kang Te-chu, are you courting death? You will be electrocuted into ashes. Idiot, don't you know how to run if you can't win? Zhang Qianlei frowned and shouted sternly. A trace of worry appeared in his eyes as he thumped his chest and stamped his feet. His heart was filled with regret. He's dead. He's finally going to die. On Haitua Mountain, Song Shuangyan and the Song and Lu family members were gritting their teeth and cursing. He's dead. Who can resist this kind of thundernet? Some were taking pleasure in Jiang Tian's misfortune, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Once the thunder net was activated, it was as if it had a mind of its own. Like a fishing net being lifted, it suddenly shrank and condensed into a shining thunderball. In just a breath's time, Jiang Tian was completely enveloped. The white light was so bright that nothing could be seen clearly. Good. Good, good, good. Kang Te-chu, the evil bastard, is finally dead. Lu Zhenguo grinned, unable to hide the pain in his heart. He looked up to the sky and sighed. Li Xuan, my poor great-grandson, I've finally avenged you. What? The leader is dead? Master Kang. The people of the Heaven Alliance, the Huaxiaolong Formation, Yi Zhantian, and the others exclaimed, their eyes full of unwillingness and disbelief. This was the 9th heaven divine thunder with the power of laws, far more powerful than electromagnetic cannons and comparable to nuclear power. Even an aircraft carrier would be crushed by it. No matter how powerful Jiang Tian was, he was just a mortal. How could he resist it? I told you not to hit him, but you insisted on hitting him. Now you're hurting him, and he's happy. Chao Jianjia laughed bitterly, but hot tears had already rolled down from her clear and beautiful eyes. Master! What's the point of living without you? Who will support Lord Tan's faction? Li Jinju's body swayed, and she fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face. The Chinese branch of the Heaven Alliance will fight the Song family and the Lu family from now on. The master of the red boat could no longer maintain his composure. He looked at Song Beishan and the others with hatred, and said through gritted teeth. Sigh, if we wait another 10 years, he might be able to defeat Zhang Qianlei. Venus's fairy-like face showed a trace of regret. She could not help but shake her head and sigh. Many of the powerhouses had the same feeling. Kang Te-chu had made great progress in the past few years, and he had dominated East Asia and Southeast Asia. It was a pity that he had met his end in such a way. Let's go. The master of the snake witch sect patted the giant snake under his feet and was about to leave. He was so powerful, like a god. How could he die? Han Qingli and Xia Lin heaved a sigh as tears welled up in their eyes. We won. We won. Countless disciples of the Song clan and Lu clan raised their arms and cheered in high spirits as if they had won a grand prize. This was indeed worth celebrating. The Bai family had been destroyed, and Kang Tae-chu had died tonight. The 6 major martial arts families of Yanjin had no leader, and this was the perfect time for the Song family and the Liu family to rise. The Song family and the Liu family had spent a lot of money to recruit people with special abilities. In less than 3 years, they would be able to conquer Yanjin and dominate Huaxia. He, Jiang Tian, you are finally finished. Song Shuang-yen smiled and regained her luster. She was immensely proud of herself. Even if you are the reincarnation of the old fiend, even if you have a lot of luck, even if you are extremely talented, you have still lost. You still don't have the power to challenge the Song family. This is an unchangeable fact. Your background is too poor to change your fate. You should have accepted it a long time ago. Heavenly Master Zhang, please accept our respect. Heavenly Master Zhang, defeating Kang Tae-chu is equivalent to dominating the world of martial arts and dharma spells. Congratulations, congratulations. From now on, you are the supreme arbiter of the cultivation world in Huaxia, and the guardian of the Song family. We will always be loyal to you. On Cloud Viewing Peak, a few Song family disciples who did not run away flew to Zhang Qianlei's front and prostrated themselves in worship, praising him like a tide. Congratulations to your mother. Fuck you. Get out. Although he had won, Zhang Qianlei's face was full of anger. He shouted and kicked a disciple. The disciple flew 10 meters away. His bones and tendons were broken, and he spat out blood. He stretched out his legs and died instantly. Everyone was confused and shocked. They didn't know why Zhang Qianlei was so angry. Zhang Qianlei, why are you sad? I'm just warming up in your lightning for a while. It was also at this moment that Jiang Tian's light laughter suddenly sounded out from within the dazzling ball of lightning that was still shining brightly. Everyone looked at it in horror and saw a pair of golden hands reaching out from the lightning ball. Then, under everyone's incredulous and horrified gaze, the 2 hands grabbed the edge of the lightning ball and tore it gently as if it were paper. Whoosh! Jiang Tian actually tore a large hole in that extremely condensed thunder ball with a temperature of 10,000 degrees. You are not dead. Then, Zhang Qianlei exclaimed in surprise and shock. Jiang Tian took a step out of the thunder ball and slightly turned around. His hands waved as if he was pulling in a fishing net. He pulled the thunder ball into his hands. The thunder ball was compressed to the size of a basketball in Jiang Tian's hand. It shone brightly and instantly lit up the dark mountaintop. It was even brighter than daytime. Within a few kilometers, the withered branches, ugly rocks, and dirty snow were covered with a layer of dazzling halo. They lost their original appearance and became incomparably holy. Jiang Tian's control of the lightning ball was like a sun rising in the dark night. Ah! A few people from the secular world covered their eyes and fell to the ground with screams. Their eyes had been burned, and their capillaries had burst, revealing traces of blood. Even transcendent martial artists and ethereal enlightenment martial artists couldn't withstand this terrifying light. They quickly turned around and closed their eyes. But through the pale blood-red eyelids, they could still feel the extreme energy of the flames. The people who closed their eyes first heard a complex roar like the wailing of thousands of ghosts. The sound made their eardrums and internal organs tremble. Fortunately, they didn't vomit blood. Then, there was a sound like a muffled thunderclap, followed by the sound of countless heavy objects collapsing and falling to the ground. It was as if the earth was being beaten again and again like the skin of a drum. It shook violently, making people unable to stand steadily and feel dizzy. This time, the tremor lasted for a few minutes before it gradually weakened and finally disappeared. The spectators also felt that the dazzling lightning seemed to have disappeared. They slowly opened their eyes and saw a shocking scene. The 100-meter-high rocks at the top of Cloud Watching Peak had been completely shaved off. It was a mess. As if an ancient god had swung a giant axe, Cloud Watching Peak was almost on the same level as the secondary peak. Smoke and dust billowed in that area. It was chaotic and nothing could be seen clearly. There were still residual electric sparks flashing in the void like thin silver snakes. Who won? Someone was puzzled. In the end, Jiang Tian tore apart the lightning ball and compressed it to the extreme. It was dazzling and everyone closed their eyes. The battle seemed to have lasted for a few minutes and was very explosive, but no one could see it. Everyone was silent and didn't understand the situation. Suddenly, a figure floated down. It was Zhang Qianlei. Many people immediately cheered. Is there even a need to ask? My master naturally won. Many disciples of the Celestial Master sect of Longhu Mountain were full of confidence and complacency. Their master's final stage was the real power of a half-step human immortal. How could Kang Te-Chu be a match for him? Chapter 570. That's right. The power of a half-step mortal deity is incomparable to that of a mortal. Even though Kang Te-Chu is at the peak of the immortal state, there is still a gap of 3 levels between them. He won't be a match for him at all. Qiu Xuanji said excitedly. That's right. Jiang Taichu could also be considered to be extremely talented. However, Zhang Qianlei used the divine power of a mortal deity. In fact, if Kang Te-Chu cultivates for another 20 years, he might be able to defeat him. The sect master of the Maoshan sect also nodded. That's right. Heavenly Master Zhang has already mastered the power of the laws of the Great Path. No matter how strong Kang Te-Chu is, he is still immortal. How can he compete with the power of the laws of heaven and earth? Looks like my Dharma spells are better after all. That's right. Martial arts only strengthen the body. It's still a small path if you don't understand the endless power of heaven and earth. Other than Master Hongba, Yang Guochang and perfected cultivator Hongye, who were close to Jiang Tian. Most of the Taoist sect cultivators were very excited and overjoyed. That night's battle was regarded as the most powerful battle between Dharma spells and martial arts in Huaxia. Of course, they would stand on Zhang Qianlei's side. Did Kang Te-Chu lose? It can't be. He can also control lightning. But there was still an explosion in the end. That means Zhang Qianlei has defeated Kang Te-Chu again. As for the Dark Overlords, many of them also stood on Jiang Tian's side. They couldn't help but sigh in disbelief. Even more people were calmer. They were analyzing and evaluating the battle prowess and divine arts that the two of them had displayed in this battle. I didn't expect the Song family to have such a powerful heavenly master. They are so powerful. The Lu family has finally avenged themselves. Congratulations. From now on, the Song and the Lu family will dominate the world. They will work together to conquer Huaxia. Many wealthy families of Yanjin went to Lu Jingguo and Song Beishan to congratulate them. We have offended you before. From now on, we will pledge our loyalty to the Lu and Song clans, even the Xia family, Gu family, and Han family, who had always been at odds with the Song family and the Lu family, had to pinch their noses and eat shit, bowing their heads and admitting defeat. The faces of Zhang Jinghua's family were even paler than corpses that had been dead for 3 days. Zhang Danfeng hesitated. Grandpa, he's still lost. Why don't we go up and pull some strings? Lu Jingguo, Song Beishan, and Song Shuangyan were all high and mighty in the face of the many family heads who had bowed their heads in submission. But at this time, Zhang Qianlei had already flown to the secondary peak. The 3 of them hurriedly went to welcome him. Congratulations, Celestial Master Zhang. We won. Celestial Master Zhang's dermic powers are unparalleled. Thunder kills Kang Te-Chu. This battle will definitely shake the world. No. I lost. Zhang Qianlei said indifferently. What? You lost? Isn't Kang Te-Chu dead? Lu Jingguo, Song Beishan, and Song Shuangyan's smiles suddenly froze on their faces. They could no longer smile. Who said I'm dead? A figure rose from the top of Cloud Watching Peak and slowly floated to the ground, landing soundlessly. He had black hair and black eyes. He was as handsome as a god. He was wearing a white robe and looked like a nobleman from the Republic of China. Kang Tae-chu. When they saw Jiang Tian, everyone trembled as if they were being strangled by the god of death. They could no longer say a word. Zhang Qianlei bowed deeply and respectfully to Jiang Tian, then looked at the crowd and said, "I cast the lightning law chain," but Grandmaster Jiang raised his hand and controlled it, condensing it into a lightning ball. He could have killed me with the thunderball, but he pushed it into the mountain. You must know that I have forcibly raised my cultivation base to the half-step human immortal realm, but I can only control the law of lightning for a split second. If Grandmaster Jiang attacks me, how can I survive? Celestial Master Zhang still has energy left. He can still fight. The outcome hasn't been decided yet. Qiu Xuanji's face changed drastically and said unwillingly, "I've already tried my best. If we fight again, I'll only die. It won't change the outcome." Zhang Qianlei shook his head and said, "Besides, Kang Tae-chu and I are only sparring. It's not a battle of life and death. There's no need to kill anymore." Everyone knew that Zhang Qianlei had a fiery temper and was never weaker than others. He never bowed his head and never admitted defeat. Since he said so, it meant that he was definitely not as good as Jiang Tian. "Congratulations, Master Kang. We Dao sect cultivators have surrendered." Qiu Xuanji hesitated for a moment and then knelt down with the other cultivators of the Dao sect. "Congratulations, Master Kang. From now on, Master Kang will unify Hua Xia and enter the world of cultivation." The people of the Heavenly Alliance knelt down and were overjoyed. That was not an exaggeration. Zhang Qianlei was the most powerful Dharma spell in the world and Jiang Tian was the most powerful martial artist in the world. Now that he had defeated Zhang Qianlei, it meant that no one in the world of cultivation could defeat him. "Congratulations, Master Kang." Athena, Artemis, the tall werewolf and the golden-armored general of the Blue Storm came forward to congratulate him. Kang Tae-chu controlled the lightning law chain and suppressed the half-step human immortals. His cultivation was unfathomable. Before a conflict broke out, they naturally had to show their goodwill. "Thank you." Jiang Tian only nodded at those people. Now that both sides were observing each other's strength, there was no need to be unfriendly. Then, Jiang Tian glanced at the people of the Lu family. Everyone shuddered at his words. Kang Tae-chu had always been ruthless and overbearing. He would kill people at the slightest provocation. Now that Zhang Qianlei had been defeated, who could stop him if Yi Tianren didn't show up? The Lu family also played a role in his fight against Zhang Qianlei. How could he let the Lu family go? "Judge Jiang, it was the old man's idea that Master Lei fought with you. I am willing to bear the responsibility alone. Please let the rest of the Lu family go." Lu Zhenghua bent his back and lowered his head. His white hair trembled slightly in the breeze. Right now, he no longer had the overflowing dignity of a founding father. He was just an ordinary elder, shivering in the cold wind, full of fear and distress. All the mortal families trembled when they saw this. They realized that an era had come to an end and a new era had begun. Even the family lord of the Lu family had bowed his head. Who else would dare to act rashly? Lu Lishuan was bewitched by the demoness and tried to kill me. I killed him and this matter will be settled. You just need to give me your family's property. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian was going to explode in anger and massacre the Lu family. Who would have thought that Jiang Tian would just skim past them like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water? Thank you, Master Kang, for sparing my life. Many members of the Lu family didn't have the slightest intention to resist. They all knelt down and thanked him. Even Lu Zhenghua bowed deeply and lowered his head. In the end, Jiang Tian walked slowly to Song Beishan and the others. Song Beishan hurriedly bowed and stepped forward. He handed over a contract document and a fragmented map and said fawningly, "Master Kang, the Song family is willing to admit defeat. We will return this piece of the map to you. In addition, we will add 10% of the Song family's shares worth 50 billion as compensation." "Is that all?" Jiang Tian took the map and looked at Song Xuanyan coldly with a flash of killing intent in his eyes. Song Xuanyan's body trembled and her face turned as pale as a sheet. A deep fear gripped her body. Grandmaster Jiang, please quell your anger. Seeing Jiang Tian's unfriendly face, Song Beishan was scared out of his wits. Master Kong, as long as you let the Song family go, I am willing to betroth Song Xuanyan to you. Xuanyan is gifted and has a special constitution. She is a connate ice body. She is a cultivation genius. Even the big sects like Mount Shu and Kunlun are interested in her and want to recruit her as a disciple. When you both enter the sects, it will be a good story. Besides, the Song family is quite influential in the secular world. We can protect the Jiang family and the Jiang family can share the wealth. Isn't it the best of both worlds? Song Xuanyan has already won the favor of the sects. Song Beishan is really ruthless. He even sent his own granddaughter to be Kang Teichu's concubine. Everyone was shocked when they heard that. It had to be said that Song Beishan's words could be said to be brilliant. They were very bewitching and contained both threats and temptations. If Jiang Tian stopped, he would get the beauty and the support of the Song family. If he didn't stop, the Song family would fight him to the death. Besides, he would offend the sects that favored Song Xuanyan. Song Xuanyan's body trembled and her face blushed. She wanted to say something but stopped. In the end, she looked at Jiang Tian calmly. You have seen Xuanyan's attitude. Song Beishan was thick-skinned and continued to persuade her. She is proud and cold, but she is not ignorant. What she admires is the kind of man who can conquer her and control her. And Hua Xia, only a genius like you can conquer her and win her heart. Look at her. She has breasts, butt, talent, and cute. She is one of the 4 beauties of Yanjin. Isn't it the pursuit of all men? Beautiful women and power were the greatest temptation to men. Song Beishan was indeed an old hand at using power. At the same time, Zhang Danfeng, Han Junfeng, and the others. Many young masters of Yanjin looked at Jiang Tian with envy and jealousy in their hearts. This woman's heart is like a snake. If you marry her, it's like having a poisonous snake by your side. In the crowd, Shen Mange, Li Jinju, Han Qingli, Xia Lin, and the other girls' hearts were pounding madly. Song Xuanyan looked at Jiang Tian and said lightly, Jiang Tian, I know you are already married, but it doesn't matter. I can be your maid. I, Song Xuanyan, only admire strong men. Jiang Tian looked at them with a smile that was not a smile. Power and beauty, these were indeed great temptations. But for Jiang Tian, who had cultivated for 10,000 years and became the God Emperor, would he lack these things? There were countless beautiful fairies and demonic women who were waiting for him to visit them. There were countless empires waiting for him to control. Song Xuanyan and the others thought that the temptation was hard to resist, not to mention the young masters of the top families in Hua Xia and the masters of the hidden sections. But they didn't know Jiang Tian's vision and experience. Hearing Song Xuanyan say such shameless words, Shen Mange, Han Qingli, Xia Lin, and the others were all surprised. This woman was so cruel. In order to climb up to Jiang Tian, she was so humble. Shen Mange also blushed. She couldn't help but think of the words she said to Jiang Tian in Shenong school. Song Beishan, beauty. They are like floating clouds to me. Jiang Tian smiled coldly and said, now that things have come to this, is selling your granddaughter's body the only thing you can do? Chapter 571. Master Kong, your granddaughter, genius, beauty. Ha, so what? A woman with a heart like snakes and scorpions, even if she takes off her clothes, I, Kang Teichu, will not look at her. Even 10 Song Xuanyans are not as charming as a strand of my wife's hair. Jiang Tian flatly refused. Jiang, you will regret it. Hearing this, Song Xuanyan's pretty face flushed red, almost dripping blood. She gnashed her teeth and angrily shouted. Regret? Now you are like a phoenix without feathers. What qualifications do you have to make me regret? How many pieces of the map do you have? Give them all to me. You owe me a few years of interest. Jiang Tian's face was full of ridicule and coldly said. This. Song Beishan hesitated to speak. But Song Shuangyan took a step forward, staring with watery eyes, and proudly said, yes, my Song family has 2 pieces of the map, but they have been given to the head of Shu Mountain, and I, Song Shuangyan, have become his personal disciple. If you have the guts, go to Shu Mountain and ask for it. Good plan. Jiang Tian whispered with a faint smile, you think I don't dare to kill you? Then I will kill you. Go to hell. Jiang Tian was about to make a move, but Zhang Qianlei stepped forward and deeply bowed, Master Kong, give this poor Taoist some face and spare her life. This poor Taoist once swore in front of the ancestral tablets to protect the Song family's safety for 60 years. Now there are only 2 years left. Master Kong, don't let this poor Taoist break his promise. 2 years later, you can kill her again. This poor Taoist will not stop you. Well, today, I will give you face. Jiang Tian flicked his finger, a golden light broke through the air and hit Song Shuangyan's chest. What is this? Song Shuangyan asked in shock. Alas, your meridians have been crippled, and there's a gung metal energy talisman suppressing several of your major acupoints. I'm afraid you won't be able to cultivate anymore. Zhang Qianlei shook his head and sighed. Song Shuangyan was dumbfounded. She waved her arms and legs and angrily cried, Jiang, you might as well kill me. Everyone's heart turned cold. Song Shuangyan racked her brains just to join the sect. She wanted to transcend worldly affairs and build the Song family into a martial arts family. Previously, Song Beishan had been proud of this. However, her constitution had been crippled and she had lost all her cultivation. She was even weaker than an ordinary person. How could she join a sect? Kang Teichu's move was too ruthless, even more ruthless than killing Song Shuangyan. Let her taste loss and defeat, let her taste the despair of having her dreams shattered, and let her be immersed in regret forever. You're a genius. Are you still a genius now? I hope the Mount Shu Sword sect will still want a genius like you. Jiang Tian said calmly. Song Shuangyan, wait for me at Shushan. Within 2 years, I will kill you and take back the interest that belongs to me. Why didn't you kill me? Aren't you very arrogant? Didn't you threaten to kill me? Song Shuangyan said angrily. You are like an ant. I can kill you at any time. You are not worthy of my killing. Jiang Tian looked down at her peerlessly beautiful face that was full of resentment and hatred. He said disdainfully, your life is first stored. I can take it away at any time. Isn't that good? Do you want me to live in fear forever, suffering from worry, loss, and fear? Song Shuangyan's face stiffened. She muttered to herself. Then, tears welled up in her eyes. Kang Teichu, you are a demon. A demon. I will not let you go. One day, I will reconstruct my cultivation. I will trample you under my feet. Hee, I'll wait. Jiang Tian stepped on the air and flew in the direction of Yuhua Villa. Everyone looked at the immortal-like figure flying through the sky and burrowing into the ground, and a sudden realization arose in their hearts. Kang Teichu let Song Shuangyan go because he knew that the Song family was like a bird frightened by the twang of a bow and had no strength to fight with him. Many people sighed in their hearts. In today's Huaxia, the secluded sects did not come out. Perhaps only Yi Tianren and a few living fossils in Hongmeng could fight with him. Jiang Tian, why didn't you kill Song Shuangyan? Don't tell me you still have feelings for her. 3 days later, in the villa, Qing'er smiled and said. This joke is very boring. Jiang Tian said indifferently, now, the cultivation resources in the secular world of Huaxia have probably been plundered by us. Next, we can only go to the secluded sects to look for them. But Shu Mountain has a concealment array left by the ancestors. It is very difficult to find. Even Yi Zhantian and Zhang Qianlei did not mention it. I put a divine sense mark on Song Shuangyan. When the time comes, we can kill our way into Shu Mountain with this clue. Yes, before we find the path to the ruins of immortality, these semi-secluded sects are indeed the existence with the most cultivation resources. Qing'er couldn't help but sigh. Shu Mountain, there are many legends since ancient times. There are sword immortals and demon caves there. Jiang Tian stared at the west for a long time and said leisurely. Huainanzi also recorded that there are big rice seeds that are 4 to 5 feet wide. In addition, in the classic of mountains and seas, there are jade trees, and other precious trees. Although the legends are different, they are all very magical. There should be some hidden resources that will help you and me in our cultivation. I'm really looking forward to it. Zhao Xueqing's beautiful eyes were beautiful. Her smile was like 100 flowers blooming, beautiful and unparalleled. Now that her cultivation was at the 6th level of qi refinement, the immortal qi in her body was more abundant, and she was particularly beautiful. After suppressing the Lu family and the Song family, the name of the adjudicators will be known throughout Huaxia. Basically, except for the secluded sects, no one will dare to provoke us. Jiang Tian said faintly. It may not be safe. Zhao Xueqing's eyes flashed with a hint of worry. Shu Mountain sect wants the Song family's map of the ruins of immortality. It can be seen that they also yearn for the ruins of immortality. Song Shuangyan also knows that you have the map of the ruins of immortality to Shu Mountain sect. Master Kong, don't worry about it. My father is the descendant of Kunlun. He has already sent a message to Shu Mountain. The sword cultivators of Shu Mountain promise that they will not attack Master Kong. Suddenly, a hearty voice came up. Yi Zhantian strode in, followed by Zhang Qianlei. Brother Yi, congratulations on breaking through the barrier and stepping into the deity realm. Congratulations. Jiang Tian smiled and cupped his hands in salute. Humph, it's all thanks to me. Next to him, Zhang Qianlei put his hands behind his back and raised his head to look at the sky. He said smugly, Kong Teichu, you are stronger than me, but your understanding of Dharma Dao is not as good as mine. After the battle with Jiang Tian, Zhang Qianlei had reached a new level and stabilized his cultivation. He was only a step away from becoming a real half-step human immortal. At the moment, he was wearing an azure Taoist robe. His black shoulder-length hair fluttered like a waterfall. He was tall and burly, like a mountain that stood between the sky and the earth. His eyes were full of fighting spirit, which was even stronger than that of an ordinary middle-aged cultivator. Zhang Qianlei, you are a loser. You are talented, but your vision is limited. How can you know the vastness of the world? Jiang Tian snorted disdainfully, which directly hit Zhang Qianlei to the point that he wanted to cry but had no tears. Yi Zhantian felt that Jiang Tian was implying something. He said, Brother Jiang, I have been studying you for many years. I feel that you are not an ordinary person. On the one hand, your cultivation is advancing too fast. On the other hand, your mentality is also different from ordinary people. Who the hell are you? Who can he be? He is just a mortal. He has not reached the peak of human immortal. Zhang Qianlei was arrogant. Even though he knew that Jiang Tian was powerful, he was not going to let him go. He looked at Jiang Tian and snorted. Maybe he got some inheritance from the ancient Taoist or the pre-Qin Qi cultivators by chance. That's why he is so powerful. Maybe he is from the ruins of immortality. Ruins of immortality? Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. In the end, it is just a space fragment of a low-level cultivation civilization. The reason I went to the ruins of immortality was for their cultivation resources, not for the inheritance of cultivation techniques. If you are not from the ruins of immortality, then where are you? Yi Zhantian frowned. He had been thinking about Jiang Tian's origin for a long time. Miyamoto Genichi once said that he was the reincarnation of the old demon. Yi Zhantian thought it was a bit unbelievable. After all, reincarnation and possession were too illusory. He also suspected that Jiang Tian came from the ruins of immortality. But Jiang Tian had been pursuing the path of the ruins of immortality. Obviously, it was not quite right. I come from the heavens. Jiang Tian said calmly. What do you mean by heaven? It is still the ruins of immortality. You are deliberately mystifying. Zhang Qianlei said, I have read the ancient books of Taoism. The ruins of immortality is the legendary heavenly court. Gu Xian, the founder of the Ling Bao sect of the Eastern Han dynasty, Gu Hong of the Eastern Jin dynasty, Lu Dongbin of the Tang dynasty, Zhang Ziang of the Song dynasty, and Zhang Sanfeng of the Ming dynasty should have all ascended to that place. Yi Zhantian was speechless. One of them was at the pinnacle of the immortal state, while the other was a half-step immortal, the number one cultivator in the Taoist sect. He didn't even have the right to interrupt their fight. No, I came from the depths of the starry sky. In the end, Jiang Tian smiled slightly, his words shocking. I knew it. I can't believe it. Hearing this, Yi Zhantian's face changed color. His eyes were filled with a strange light as he stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Are you an alien? From Krypton? Superman? Are you a science fiction writer? Zhang Qianlei smiled disdainfully. The Voyager 1 has already flown out of the solar system and is 14 billion kilometers away from the Earth. But it has not found anything. Not even the most basic single-celled organisms, let alone aliens. Those space probes can't even see 1/1000th of the universe. Jiang Tian said indifferently. The universe is far more vast than you can imagine. Moreover, the prosperity of the cultivation civilization is far beyond the past and present of the Earth. But I can't be bothered to tell you this. Yi Zhantian asked in a hoarse voice, Grandmaster Jiang, could it be that heaven immortal is still not the peak of cultivation? The sky immortals you call sky immortals are just foundation establishment cultivators. They are not real immortals. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, his eyes filled with disdain. Above foundation establishment, there are golden core, nascent soul, and soul formation. Soul formation cultivators have a lifespan of 2,000 years. Before that, they cannot be called immortals. Above that, there is void refinement and Mahayana. They have to go through 9 tribulations to become true immortals. What? Your cultivation system is so powerful. This time, Yi Zhantian was completely stunned. Even Zhang Qianlei, who had always been arrogant and conceited, was shocked. Chapter 572. They had never heard of what Jiang Tian had just said. Even the Taoist classics had no record of it. The celestial immortal that they thought was the end of cultivation was only the 3rd stage of the cultivation system that Jiang Tian had mentioned. How powerful and terrifying was the cultivation after that? It was beyond their imagination. Above the celestial immortals, there is the true God level, which belongs to the God level civilization. One punch can break a star, and one Dharma artifact can contain a galaxy. Jiang Tian said lightly. Yi Zhantian and Zhang Qianlei were dumbfounded. They stood motionless like clay statues. Their hearts were shaken to the extreme. Breaking a star with one punch. Is he still human? Yi Zhantian couldn't help but exclaim after a long while. He was the leader of the Huaxiaolong formation. But at this moment, he felt as small as an ant. Jiang Tian, I'm very impressed by your ability to boast. Zhang Qianlei gave him a thumbs up, but his trembling right hand betrayed the shock in his heart. Jiang Tian had seen through Zhang Qianlei's stubbornness and arrogance, so he didn't take it seriously. He smiled and said, actually, you can think of the cultivators as a civilization of another level. Master Kong, please teach me the way of cultivation. Yi Zhantian's face was stern. He lifted the hem of his robe and knelt on the ground to worship. This was exactly what Jiang Tian wanted. The Yi family's heritage came from Kunlun. Taking Yi Zhantian as his disciple was a favor. When he was not around, Kunlun would protect the Jiang family. Brother Jiang, teach me a thing or two. Zhang Qianlei rubbed his hands. He was excited, but he was too proud to bow to Jiang Tian. Get out of my way. Jiang Tian didn't like him. He helped Yi Zhantian up. He used his divine sense to pass on some basic techniques of cultivation to him and asked him not to spread them to anyone else. After the teaching, Yi Zhantian bowed respectfully and said, "From now on, Master Kong is my master. If you have any orders, this disciple will not hesitate." Nodding his head in satisfaction, Jiang Tian smiled, "It's fine as long as you know it. In the future, you and I will still treat each other as equals outside." Yi Zhantian represented the Huaxiaolong formation, which was the most powerful martial arts force in the secular world. Together with the Heaven Alliance, no one in the secular world dared to provoke the Jiang family. In addition, the Yi family was on good terms with the Kunlun sect. With him around, Shu Mountain would be afraid of Kunlun's power and would not attack the Jiang family easily. Zhang Qianlei didn't tell Jiang Chen the purpose of his visit until the matter was over. "Brother Jiang, the Chinese Union in Singapore has conquered many cities in East Asia and obtained many cultivation resources. I admire your way of doing things. You should take the initiative to attack. Why should we let them snatch our resources? Now that I've come out of seclusion, I want to travel the world with you. Is there any place you want to go?" Jiang Tian chuckled and said, "Why would I bring you along? Wouldn't it be great if I snatched it myself?" Zhang Qianlei's face stiffened. He forced a smile and said, "What are you talking about? You're not invincible in the world now. Won't it be great for us to fight side by side? Then what if you want to share the treasures with me?" Jiang Tian chuckled and went straight to the point. "I just want to fight, okay? You can have the treasures. I don't want any of them." Zhang Qianlei rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, "Besides, I'm a thunder cultivator. To be honest, the cultivation resources that you want are not of much use to me." "Zhang Qianlei, you're so full of yourself." Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, "You want me to play with you? Sure, but you're not allowed to call yourself I anymore. You have to call me master and be my servant." Zhang Qianlei was furious and shouted, "Kong Te Chu, don't be so shameless. I'm a half-step human immortal. Preposterous. Preposterous." The next moment, he put his hands behind his back and looked up at the sky. He said weakly, "I'll admit it in my heart, but I'll never call you that outside." Next to him, Qing'er giggled, making Zhang Qianlei blush. He turned around and walked away. "Master Kong, when are you going to take action? Call me, no, call me." Zhang Qianlei's humiliated voice came from the courtyard. "The matter between the Lu and Song families is settled. It's time to put the other matter on the agenda." After the two left, Jiang Tian's eyes flickered as he smiled faintly. "Are you talking about the immortal ascension blood arrow orchid?" Zhao Xueqing said worriedly. "I heard that Sidoni's tribe is in constant war. Also, that tribe is guarded by an alien deity. It's quite dangerous. This time, I'll go with you." "No, this time, ask Ling to accompany me," Jiang Tian said calmly. "She needs to gain some experience. Besides, the rainforest is full of vitality. It's easier for her to fight with her divine art of withering glory." "Yes. That's good." Qing'er nodded and then said with a mischievous smile, "You and Ling better have a good relationship." What are you thinking about?" Jiang Tian was slightly stunned when he heard that, and his face turned red again. Although Ling's memory had been restored and she was also his woman, they had never had sex before. Huang Linger was very shy, and Qing'er was always there. She had never taken the initiative to approach Jiang Tian. As for Jiang Tian, he merely laughed it off. He had never cared about it. Whether it was Zhao Xueqing or Huang Linger, they would embark on the immortal cultivation path in the future and live a carefree life as long as the heavens. Compared to the long years ahead, what was the meaning of a moment of pleasure? In Jiang Tian's eyes, Huang Linger was still very young. One day, when she grew into the beautiful fairy Huang Ling, that would be the most perfect moment. Lin Fengmian also called. The immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid was about to bloom. It was time to set off for Sidoni. While Jiang Tian and the others were preparing for their journey, America, Lincoln County, Nevada, Area 51, Blue Storm Secret Underground Base. Professor, this flower that can accelerate the evolution of the human body and stimulate potential is about to bloom. Call for a meeting immediately. A photo was placed on the professor's desk, one of the leaders of America's Blue Storm organization. This photo was the photo of the immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid that Jiang Tian had seen in Lin Fengmian's hands. Is that so? That's great. The professor drove his wheelchair out of the office. After verifying the pupil lines, the 10 cm thick titanium alloy door with a cold metallic luster opened automatically. He arrived at a sci-fi looking conference room. In the conference room, a holographic projection was turned on. The 3D projection of the immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid rotated gently in the center of the metal conference table. Around the circular conference table sat 7 powerhouses with powerful auras. Some were as hot as fire, some were as majestic as 10,000 mountains, and some had spiritual power as deep as the sea. The professor, who was famous all over the world, was only sitting in the 5th position. Behind them, there were more than 10 powerhouses of all kinds. Most of them were D or S rank arcanists. The one leading them was from the Pentagon. His hair was white, his body was as straight as a sword, and there were 2 stars on his shoulders. However, he sat there and controlled the conference room. No one dared to say a word. That was because Keynes was the representative of the American military who was in contact with Blue Storm. In the past few years, Blue Storm's rapid development to become the world's #1 organization was inseparable from the support of the Pentagon. Now, I have received authorization from the President and the Secretary of Defense to declassify a top-secret 6-star document. Keynes' cold voice echoed in the conference room. 10 years ago, the Saroni warlord we supported, Thorpe, the leader of the Freedom Liberation Army, invaded Changshou's tribe for a short period of time. He obtained an immature immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid and secretly sent it to America. With the support of the Department of Defense, 7 universities, including MIT, Stanford, and Columbia, joined forces with the laboratories of 3 top biochemical companies, DuPont, Bayer, and Altofina, to conduct human experiments on this magical flower that was rumored to be able to stimulate potential and achieve longevity. The results of the experiment were that it could achieve changes in the human genome, improve human athletic ability, and mass-produce arcanists. At this point, his tone became heavier as he said coldly, "Take note, it's a Class X arcanist. And the success rate is 80%. No way. A Class X arcanist. That's combat power comparable to a deity. Yeah, Blue Storm only has a dozen or so Class X arcanists." The expressions of many arcanists changed drastically as they looked on in disbelief. Even the professor could not help but say, Blue Storm has also been conducting genetic modification experiments over the years, and even achieved the goal of reconstructing human genes, but they could not achieve such a success rate. Then we can try. Keynes shrugged lightly as he said loudly, "See lady, you can come in now." The tightly shut titanium alloy door did not open, but a blue stream of water gushed out from the millimeter-sized gap in the door. More and more water flowed out, gradually converging into a rippling, transparent human figure. The transparent human figure rippled violently as wheat-colored skin and seaweed-like long hair appeared. In a second, it turned into a normal human body. She wore a very thin, close-fitting garment that resembled a shark suit. It turned out to be a sexy woman with a voluptuous figure. Her body can turn into water. But this can only be called a Class S arcanist, right? Or maybe just a Class D. An abnormally tall, green-skinned, 5-meter-tall big guy who sat there still looked like a towering mountain said in a low, muffled voice, his eyes full of disdain. The professor glanced at this person with a hint of fear in his eyes. Green Goblin. His real name was Harry Osborne, a Class S arcanist. He used to be the chairman of Auburn Biology in the United States. In the 1980s, he used his body to research human enhancement drugs, gradually gaining physical strength that far exceeded that of ordinary people. He could lift a 20-ton giant with his bare hands, and destroy a building with a kick and a punch. He was also extremely fast and possessed superhuman strength. However, the side effects of the drugs gave birth to an extremely destructive and terrifying personality in his mind. As a result, Green Goblin was often sent to various local battlefields. During Operation Desert Storm in the Gulf War, he once flipped over several tanks of the Iraqi army with his bare hands. He came and went like the wind on the battlefield, unrivaled. However, this information was covered up by the United States on a global scale, and very few people knew about it. In 10 minutes, a Class 12 hurricane will erupt in the Pacific Ocean near California. Switch to satellite images and live cameras. Keynes shrugged and even accurately reported the latitude, longitude, and coordinates. Chapter 573. Could it be that her ability is to predict storms? Then why do we still need the meteorological department? In the seat, a handsome man wearing a pair of black crystal sunglasses shrugged his shoulders and said. At this time, the satellite cloud picture gradually changed. The cloud, which was originally still and slowly moving, suddenly spun rapidly and changed rapidly. In almost a minute, it turned into a rapidly spinning cyclone. The seawater below, on the other hand, seemed to be stirred crazily by the giant hand of an invisible god. It boiled, rolled, and spun violently. In the end, water pillars that were more than 100 meters thick rose into the sky like long dragons. The surroundings of the water pillars seemed to have been hollowed out by an invisible giant hand. It was impossible to see how deep the water pillars were. 10 kilometers away from the water pillars, a corvette with a displacement of more than 2,500 tons was like a toy boat that was powerlessly struggling in the stormy sea. It slid uncontrollably into the sunken seawater and gradually tilted. In the end, it was swallowed by the monstrous waves. Sea Girl. Stop it. General Keynes smiled with satisfaction and nodded at the Sea Girl. The Sea Girl exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Her hands that were spinning and moving slowly stopped. The hurricane also gradually disappeared within 10 minutes. The sea surface calmed down at a speed visible to the naked eye. The corvette broke through the heavy waves and floated on the sea surface. So, the Sea Girl's ability is to create hurricanes? And from dozens of kilometers away. The professor felt that his throat was trembling. That's right. It turns out that the Sea Girl was a patient with terminal cancer. The cancer cells had already spread to her entire body. She was recruited to be our test subject. Now, not only has she been cured of her cancer, she has also obtained this ability. Keynes stood up. A simple action of straightening his body made his figure suddenly become as majestic as a mountain. It made him reveal a calm, determined, and wise temperament. Ladies and gentlemen, after the rise of Jiang Taichu, the experts of the U.S. military once asserted that the stimulation of the human body's potential may become a new round of arms race, following the conventional competition, the nuclear competition, and the strategic defense of space. Our genetic, physical, and chemical research teams, after research, once despaired and believed that we could not mass-produce super experts like Kang Taichu. Now, we see hope. We see hope to surpass Kang Taichu. Everyone has seen it. An immature blood orchid could create level X or even level X arcanists. What about mature ones? We can even create real gods. And you will become the gods of the United States. Keynes' eyes shone with a greedy light as he slammed his fist on the alloy table like a hammer, causing the documents on the table to jump. Go to Sidoni. Go to the longevity tribe and get those mature blood orchids. This is a great opportunity for us. Its discovery is no less significant than the birth of nuclear weapons. It will definitely go down in history. Hearing this, everyone became excited and responded fervently. Their battle intent overflowed, and their blood boiled and burned. Even if they had become level X paranormals, they would not be able to reach the level of gods, let alone be immortal. Some of the side effects might even shorten their lifespan. It could be said that the immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid was a fatal temptation that they could not resist. But as far as I know, Sidonie is very chaotic. The European Union and Russia have supported warlords. Huaxia has mining companies there, and I think they will all pay attention to the mature blood orchid. Only the professor maintained a rare calmness as he analyzed with a frown. As soon as he said that, everyone calmed down. Yes. Sidonie's warlords had been divided for a long time, and there were political forces in all countries. It was impossible that they would not pay attention to the blood orchid. When the time came, Russia's winter soldiers, Europe's pantheon, and other powerhouses would gather. It would definitely be a bloody battle. Russia and Europe have many powerhouse organizations, and there are warlords as agents. We do need to pay special attention to them. But Huaxia only has a mining company called Gold Energy and a security team. There is nothing to worry about at all. Green Devil looked at the information and snorted disdainfully. No matter what, we must get the blood orchid. The Pentagon's instructions are to do whatever it takes. General Kane's eyes were firm as he made the final decision. But we have to abide by international conventions. Conventional troops can't enter, so this time, Blue Storm will execute it. Soldiers, you are the sharpest force of the United States of America. You are the guardians of the country, and you are also the pioneers of the territory. Let the stars and stripes fly on Sidonie's land. The blood orchid is about to mature. The professor's guess was right. Almost all the tycoons of the dark world got the picture at the same time. Let's go to Sidonie. The blood orchid is even more magical than the princess flower on Mount Everest. You only need to get one petal to become a peerless powerhouse. Get one petal and you can definitely dominate the world, get on the dark roll, and be on par with Kang Tae-chu. For a moment, all the overlords turned their attention to Africa, the poor island country that crossed the equator and floated in the Atlantic Ocean. As for Jiang Tian, he was completely unaware of this. A few days before he left, something happened in Yanjin. In the end, Song Xuanyan was taken away by a senior brother of the Mount Shu sword sect and officially joined the Amei sword sect. Before she left, she told the Song family not to mess with Kang Tae-chu. She said that she would settle the score with Kang Tae-chu herself. Another big news was that Yi Zhantian's daughter, Yi Karen, had joined the Kunlun sect, which shocked many people. The Kunlun sect was the origin of Taoism. It was very strict and mysterious when it came to selecting disciples. Few people knew about it and it was called the unknown place. In the past 100 years, Yi Tianren was the only one who walked in the secular world. However, he alone had suppressed Huaxia for decades. Also, many companies under the Heavenly Alliance had set up shop in Yanjin and officially started the process of internationalization. Beautiful Sky had spent 2 billion yuan to acquire 51% of the shares of Glamorous International, which had caused an uproar in the capital market. However, these were not worth mentioning to Jiang Tian. He had already embarked on the journey to Sidonie with Huang Linger and Zhang Qianlei. At this time, Jiang Tian had been cultivating in the 2 dragon marrow spirit veins in the Shuangqing villa of the Yuhua villa for more than 10 days. He had taken a lot of pills made of winchim grass and his injuries had completely healed. Both his body and cultivation had reached the peak state since his rebirth. He even felt that he was only a step away from level 7 of qi refinement. This was also the result of the battle with Zhang Qianlei that had strengthened his body and qi. Whoosh! The private plane roared in the sky and its destination was the transit station, Brazzaville, the capital of the Congo. Jiang Tian sat in the plane and read The Legend of the Swordsman of Mount Shu, by Huanzhu Lord. Huang Linger sat cross-legged on the leather seat and breathed in and out. She looked ethereal and dignified. Beside him, Heaven's equal monkey was holding a peach and eating it with relish. Its juices splattered everywhere. Zhang Qianlei had stabilized his appearance as a young man in the immortality realm and was dressed in a green Taoist robe. In fact, this was also the result of the battle with Jiang Tian that had strengthened his cultivation. However, this guy was stubborn and would never admit it. He said with certainty that he had always been in the immortality realm and that he usually showed his old appearance in order to pretend to be weak. Looking at the clouds outside the porthole, Zhang Qianlei said as if nothing had happened, Jiang Tian, during the battle that day, the black thing that flew very fast, was it the legendary flying sword? What do you think? Jiang Tian turned a page and said without looking up. When will you lend it to me to play with? Zhang Qianlei said excitedly, I think that thing seems to be flying faster than a plane. You're not going to be my servant, so why should I lend it to you? Jiang Tian said with a smirk like a weird uncle who was tempting children with lollipops. Jiang Tian, if you continue to be like this, I'll get angry with you. Zhang Qianlei's old face reddened as he anxiously said, You're right. I'm even older than old Master Jiang Changgang. Do you know how to respect the old and cherish the young? Ha, Zhang Qianlei, you're too young. Jiang Tian smiled and said, Let me tell you, you're not even qualified to be my great 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 great, you have to respect the old and love the young. Call me grandpa. Last Ling, look at how arrogant your husband is. He didn't care at all. He's going to die a horrible death. Although Zhang Qianlei had a bad temper, his verbal skills were actually average. He didn't dare to fight on the plane. Before the plane took off, Jiang Tian warned him. His lightning bolt would interfere with the plane's electronic equipment, and the plane might even crash. At that time, Jiang Tian would not save him. Zhang Qianlei believed that Jiang Tian would definitely do it. He didn't have a flying sword, and he didn't know if he would die if he fell from a height of 10,000 meters. Grandpa Zhang, if you don't like me, you can fight with him. Huang Linger said with a chuckle. This little girl's temperament is quite similar to that of Amei's ancestor with boundless sword intent. Zhang Qianlei sized up Huang Linger. His eyes shone brightly as he said, Your foundation is not far from Yi Karen's. It's a pity that you don't learn swordsmanship. Kang Te Chu is leading you astray. If you change your mind one day, I'll take you to learn swordsmanship. Master Lei, my cultivation is similar to that of spells. You're an academic. How can you belittle yourself and respect martial arts and suppress Dao? Huang Linger smiled sweetly and said, Besides, Jiang Tian also knows swordsmanship. He might not be worse than Amei. That's right. When I fought with you, I didn't use a flying sword from beginning to end. Otherwise, how could you still be alive? Jiang Tian raised his eyelids and interjected. Zhang Qianlei was dealt a heavy blow. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He had been in this world for a century, but when he met this freak who was proficient in all methods, he was suppressed everywhere. Jiang Tian suddenly put down the book and said seriously, Master Lei, have you fought with Yi Tianren before? We sparred when we were young. That turbulent era was also the last prosperity of Hua Xia's martial arts and spell world. It could be said that all the powerhouses and grandmasters came out. It was like a firework in full bloom, exploding with a bang, leaving behind the last brilliance, and then it was gone. Zhang Qianlei saw that he was serious and said indifferently, Why are you asking this? He's hiding now. Who won? Jiang Tian asked curiously. Chapter 574. Let's call it a draw, Zhang Qianlei blushed. Then, he looked at Jiang Tian's teasing eyes and shouted angrily, Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I'm lying? If I lost, with that freak's ruthlessness, would I still be alive to talk to you? You're quite likable. I can't bear to kill you even if I beat you. Baby Qianlei. Are you praising me or scolding me? Zhang Qianlei was so angry that his hair was about to stand on end. What cultivation level do you think Yi Tianren should be at now? Jiang Tian asked curiously. It's hard to say. It's not strange for him to become a human immortal. Zhang Qianlei sighed and said, this person's perception is astonishing. He has great wisdom, perseverance, and great opportunities. According to you, I'm a talented person with a lightning-type foundation. I was also born in the Celestial Master sect of Mount Longhu. My father was the last Celestial Master in the late Qing dynasty. My luck is good, but I think his luck is better than mine. Don't compare innate conditions. Why don't you say that others are smarter and have more perseverance than you? Jiang Tian asked with a smile. Zhang Qianlei ignored the boring teasing and snorted coldly. This person is a Kunlun successor and was once the world wayfarer of Kunlun. Kunlun cultivates the lineage of Chan school. They pay attention to one's foundation and background. They don't take in disciples randomly. But what did Yi Tianren do before? He robbed and killed countless people, but he was chosen by the Kunlun sect master and taken in as his last disciple. If this isn't a great opportunity, then what is? Or maybe it's a chaotic world. Why do we need such a powerful person to support the rivers and mountains? Jiang Tian thought deeply. Supporting the rivers and mountains, my ass. Those people from Kunlun and Shu Mountain are not human. They only want to pursue the Tao. Zhang Qianlei said disdainfully. In their eyes, we are just ants and dust, not worth mentioning. They won't come out even if we break the sky in the mortal world. Do you think Hao Taichung didn't come out to suppress you after you killed Hao Hongmei? Wrong, little Tian Tian, he thinks that you are not worthy of his attention. Hao Hongmei's death was not worth disturbing his cultivation. They don't have much human emotion left. Immortal state cultivators can look down on the world with their own strength. For example, Wang Zhongyan is called the Imperial Preceptor in Singapore, and Miyamoto Genichi is on the same level as the Emperor. These worldly achievements are naturally unimaginable in the eyes of ordinary people, but in their eyes, they are merely chasing after the stench. I don't understand your cultivation system, but I can be sure that your combat power is not strong enough to challenge a human immortal. In fact, there is still a gap. Not to mention the sect leaders of Kunlun and Shushan, even Yi Tianren was still a far cry away. Kid, good luck to you. I hope you'll be able to gain something from this treasure hunt and break through a few times as soon as possible. As he spoke up to hear, he took joy in Chen Shi's misfortune. Is Yi Tianren really that powerful? So much stronger than you? Jiang Tian teased. Zhang Qianlei suffered another blow and said gloomily, young man, you don't have good perception. I am a heavenly master appointed by Baldi Jiang, representing the old forces. If it weren't for the protection of the Lu and Song families, I would have been killed by the cannons. With an aggrieved expression, he said, but who is Heavenly Yi? The founder of the Huaxiaolong formation is supported by the government. I live under the roof of the Song family and don't even have the chance to come out. Just thinking about it makes me sullen. What about him? He has dominated Huaxia for half a century and wiped out all the transcendental forces. At the same time, he has also plundered and accumulated a lot of treasures. He has dug up the Taoist scriptures of Huaxia for thousands of years. Do you know how deep his accumulation is? Do you know how many treasures he has? Have you ever thought about what he has been doing all these years? He must have dug up some treasures and is absorbing and refining them. What a bandit! He is so lucky. Jiang Tian pondered for a while and nodded. Zhang Qianlei's words were not alarmist. It was just like when he went to Mount Everest to look for the D flower, but he encountered the fallen sacred battle ape Qi Aosheng and obtained Little Black's flying sword and other Dharma artifacts, which greatly increased his strength. Yi Tianren was the same. Moreover, after a century of accumulation, he might have studied the earth thoroughly. That was not something he could compare to. This person has the most orthodox Tao, the most profound cultivation techniques, the deepest accumulation, and the most fortuitous opportunities. Zhang Qianlei said enviously, if someone like him doesn't become an immortal, who else can? At that moment, Lin Fengmian walked in from the front cabin door and said with a smile, "The plane is about to land." Han Junfeng, welcome. After the plane landed, they walked out of the cabin door and immediately felt hot. They were near the equator and had a tropical climate. The sun was scorching, and the temperature was very high. It was as if they had walked from the coldest winter to the hottest summer. Outside the airport, Han Junfeng had been waiting for a long time. "Master Kong, you're here." Han Junfeng was the founder of the Jinan Group, a vice minister of the central government. His family was very powerful. Behind him stood a row of executives of the Jinan Group. They were all in suits and white shirts. A row of Mercedes-Benz and BMW were parked in front of them. When they saw Jiang Tian come out, they bowed and greeted him. There were even a few Congolese senior officials. Junfeng, ask them to leave. "I don't like this kind of show." Jiang Tian frowned. "Yes, Master Kong." Han Junfeng's face was filled with fear. He waved his hand, and the executives standing behind him quickly got into the car and left. In the end, there was only a silver Bentley left. A secretary opened the car door for him. Jiang Tian and the others sat down and the Bentley drove into the city like a silver dragon. "Master Kong, this is the security director of the Sidoni branch of the Jinan Group." Han Junfeng pointed at a young man in the opposite seat and said. They were the ones who entered the Changsho tribe and took the picture. More than a dozen security guards are dead, and he is the only one left. If you have any questions, just ask him. Han Junfeng was more agile. He knew what Jiang Tian was concerned about and directly brought him here. "What's your name?" Jiang Tian looked at the young man. The young man was very thin and unshaven, but his bones were thick. His fists and right thumb were full of calluses. It could be seen that he should have been trained. Maybe he was a retired soldier. It must be known that Sidoni was at war. There were several warlords who were not like the domestic security companies facing small thieves. They were armed with modern weapons and killed without blinking. "Mr. Jiang, my name is Chen Jihao." The young man's eyes were dull. He did not respond to Jiang Tian's question. He only reacted when Han Junfeng poked his arm. "Don't be afraid." Jiang Tian smiled kindly and gave him a cigarette. Chen Jihao quickly took it with both hands. Jiang Tian lit it for him and said, "How did you find the blood orchid? Why are you the only one who came back? What did you encounter?" Chen Jihao trembled as he smoked. Jiang Tian's calm eyes seemed to give him the power to calm down. Sidoni is rich in mineral resources, but it was once a British colony and became independent in the 1950s. Its economic and social development is very backward, and its mineral resources are not developed enough. It has always been cheaper. Gold Energy Group is a state-owned enterprise that has just been established. It needs to have good results. The central enterprises of energy and mineral resources are conquering overseas. The markets of Russia and Australia have been occupied by them. We can only make use of the opportunity to enter Africa, including a chaotic country like Sidoni. So, we sent a geological team to look for mines here, and we were the guards. Due to the outbreak of a tropical storm, dozens of us walked continuously in the forest for 3 days and 3 nights. We lost our maps and positioning devices. Only then did we accidentally enter the Changsho tribe and see the blood-red orchid. Otherwise, we would not have gone in. Seeing that Jiang Tian was a little puzzled, Han Junfeng quickly explained. Because it is in the border area between the government forces and the rebels, there are often wars, and it is very unsafe. Usually, our branch is stationed in the area occupied by the government forces. Jiang Tian nodded. Chen Jihao said, "At that time, when we saw the flower under the waterfall, we thought we had found a treasure. It glowed and emitted a faint mist. When we smelled it, we felt relaxed and comfortable. The tiredness and hunger of several days of continuous trekking disappeared in an instant. At that time, we also judged that we had walked to the Changsho tribe. We had already guessed that it was the magical flower. However, when he said this, a deep fear appeared on Chen Jihao's face. His body trembled, and he said in a trembling voice, "At that time, we were all ecstatic, but at that time, we met a group of monsters." "What kind of monsters?" Jiang Tian's eyes were fixed. Han Junfeng also said, "You have to be more specific." "I couldn't see clearly." Chen Jihao said with a wry smile, "At that time, a tropical storm broke out, heavy rain poured, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. Most of our torches and searchlights were lost, and they were too fast. What we can be sure of is that it was a group of huge flying birds, bigger than any bird I have ever seen. No, it should be said that they were bigger than any bird recorded in biology. Their wings were 7 or 8 meters long. One of them could catch a living person. Our mining equipment was lost, but the guns were still there. We had submachine guns and shotguns, but they were useless." Chen Jihao showed a deep fear, and said in a trembling voice, "The closest was a bird that was only 7 or 8 meters away from me. I hit it with a shotgun, making a string of sparks, but it was fine. In the end, it was the deputy captain of the security team who blocked those strange birds with a gun, giving me a chance to escape." Speaking of this, big drops of tears rolled down his face, and he grabbed his hair and said, "I was useless. At that time, in order to cover me, Zhao Taizhu took a submachine gun and faced those big birds, but I took the camera and selfishly ran away. I didn't do my duty as the captain." Looking at the sobbing Chen Jihao, Jiang Tian shook his head helplessly. Chen Jihao should also be a very experienced security personnel, but when encountering this kind of monster, there was no way he could do anything. Perhaps he had been tormented by guilt and fear for a long time, so much so that he had become so thin and emaciated. Chapter 575. Beside him, Han Junfeng said solemnly, "Master Kong, these strange birds are still very scary. I've been paying attention to this Changsho tribe for a long time. They're at the border between the government and the rebels, but for more than 10 years, the rebels and the government have not dared to provoke them. You can see how scary they are." Lin Fengmian also said nervously, "Also, I heard that other than these strange birds, they have other monsters that can even be called gods." "Don't worry." Jiang Tian patted Qitian's head and smiled disdainfully. "No matter how strong these monsters are, they're just food for Qitian. They're not worth mentioning at all. I'm worrying too much." "We're relieved that Master Kong said so." Lin Fengmian slapped his thigh and laughed heartily. He had already gotten the photos and location, but he had not dared to go there. Obviously, he was afraid. However, Jiang Tian was much stronger than him. He had single-handedly defeated a 28-man mixed army in Japan. No matter how strong those monsters were, how could they be stronger than modern artillery, tanks, and fighter jets? The group rested for a day and a night in the capital of Congo. The next day, they set off for Sidoni. Jiang Tian's private plane had already refueled and returned. Sidoni was economically and socially backward and did not have a modern airport. Helicopters were more convenient. Because Lin Fengmian already knew the exact location of the Changsho tribe, and Sidoni had some Jinning staff to lead the way, they did not bring Han Junfeng and Chen Jihao. They followed Jiang Tian's private plane back to Huaxia. "Our helicopter will first arrive at the capital of Sidoni, San Juan. We'll refuel there and go straight to the Changsho tribe," Lin Fengmian explained in the helicopter. The flight would take 4 hours. Sidoni was an island country near the equator in the Pacific Ocean on the west side of Africa. The airport in the capital, San Juan, felt like a 3rd or 4th tier city bus station in China. The airport was empty and there were few passengers. There were only a few people sitting on plastic chairs. There were no security checkpoints or luggage passageways. Han Junfeng had great influence in Africa. In Congo, he had helped Jiang Tian and Lin Fengmian get fake passports. Lin Fengmian had considered everything thoroughly. Sidoni's government was a puppet supported by Britain and the European Union. As for people like Jiang Tian, the European Union might have already investigated him thoroughly. If the United Kingdom found out, they might also send people over to snatch the treasure. Although the terminal was air-conditioned, Huang Linger, who was wearing a casual sweater, still felt a little uncomfortable. However, the customs officers were not surprised. They casually stamped their passports and let them go. In the duty-free shop at the airport, Jiang Tian and the others bought summer clothes, cotton t-shirts, shorts, cotton socks, high-top jungle boots, and a sun hat. Jiang Tian and the others realized that the jewels from their country were very popular here. At this time, another executive of the Sidoni branch of the Goldman Group came to greet them and brought some bad news. Now, several resistance forces and rebel forces had occupied a large number of areas that originally belonged to the government forces. Even the capital, San Juan, was in danger. Helicopters could not pass through. Because the warlords saw that it was not a helicopter that they did not know, they beat it up without saying a word. Previously, a transport plane of the Goldman Group was shot down by them and several technicians were killed. Out of the airport, a smoky road led directly to the capital, San Juan. Bored black drivers gathered together to play cards. This was probably the bus station of the San Juan International Airport. Sitting in a Land Rover of the Goldman Group and driving into the city, one could see lush trees, black children running around, and African women in colorful clothes walking around with buckets on their heads. The sky was dazzling blue, and the hot sun made one's skin burn. It was an exotic scene. Master Kong, do we go there ourselves or hire a few local guides? Lin Fengmian asked. Although we have a map and I know the location of the Changsho tribe, Sidoni's terrain is complicated. There are many ravines and mountains, and there are few buildings in the tropical rainforest. It's easy to get lost. Also, the person I'm looking for runs a few routes in Sidoni. The government forces and rebel forces have to give him some face. Okay, let's look for him. Jiang Tian nodded. Okay. Lin Fengmian answered and started to make a call. He was a martial arts tycoon in Yanjin and controlled the mining and energy industries. His influence spread across the world. Although he was based in Yanjin, he had friends all over the world. Also, he had been to Sidoni a few times to find out about the immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid, so he knew some local tyrants. In a manor 10 kilometers away from the capital airport, he found a man called Mulligan. He knocked on the door and a skinny black kid in shorts opened the door. He blinked his big eyes and asked in English, "Who are you looking for?" "We're looking for Mr. Mulligan." Jiang Tian patted his head and asked, "What's your name?" "My name is Arthur, please come in." The black kid led them in obediently. There were a few small helicopters and pickup trucks parked under the old canopy that served as a garage and airplane hangar. The helicopter engine was on the ground, waiting to be repaired. Wrenches and screwdrivers were scattered all over the ground. Under the canopy, a dark-skinned man was snoring on a recliner with a bottle of alcohol in his arms. His whole body was filled with the smell of rum. In his open shirt, his dark skin and a big gold necklace as thick as a thumb shone under the tropical sun. A large hunting dog lay at his feet, looking at the newcomers warily. There were a few burly men in camouflage around him. Some of them were playing cards on the old table with submachine guns on their legs. There were also a few barbecuing in the charcoal fire in a gasoline barrel. It was unknown whether they were crocodiles or something else. "Old Man Mulligan, we have guests." The black kid, Arthur, said in fluent English. The black burly man continued to snore, but he magically lifted his leg and kicked Arthur to the ground. Arthur was kicked more than 3 meters away. He got up and stood to the side with a frightened look in his eyes, but he did not make a sound. Clearly, he was used to these beatings. Huang Linger hurriedly helped Arthur up and stuffed a lollipop into his hands. Arthur quickly unwrapped it and stuffed it into his mouth, saying gratefully in a soft voice, "Thank you." Jiang Tian picked up a wrench casually and knocked on the metal table. With a bang, the metal table cracked and the hunting dog barked in fear. The burly men who were playing cards and barbecuing immediately grabbed their pistols and pointed at Jiang Tian and the others, cursing angrily. Mulligan also opened his eyes and looked at the crowd in confusion. Mr. Mulligan, I'm Bruce Lin. Lin Fengmian chuckled and said in choppy English, shaking hands with the other party. Mr. Lin, is there anything I can help you with? I didn't expect you to come to the godforsaken Sidoni. Mulligan recognized Lin Fengmian and stood up. He laughed and punched Lin Fengmian's shoulder heavily. Lin Fengmian was a martial arts grandmaster and someone at the peak of the transcendent state, but he was forced to take a step back by Mulligan. Jiang Tian was secretly surprised. He scanned with his divine sense and found that although this person did not have any aura, his blood essence was abnormally strong and his body was as strong as a mixed martial arts master. He should be a physical awakened. Lin Fengmian introduced, this is Mulligan. He used to be a mercenary king in the Dark World and his code name was Black Bear. He had fought with the United States Marine Corps before and had managed to escape. When he returned to his hometown, Sidoni was very chaotic. Chen Zhihao and the others alone could not guarantee his safety, so he had hired them before. I've seen him twice. This man is very popular in Sidoni, because he has been in the employ of the government and of the rebels, and everybody gives him some respect here. Sometimes, his words are more effective than the president. Here's the thing. I heard that you operate a few domestic flights in Sidoni. One of them goes to Dragon Rocky City near the Changsho tribe. Can you take us there? Jiang Tian asked in fluent English. Unlike Lin Fengmian, he emphasized the authentic American accent. Listen, Yellow Skin, I don't want to go to Dragon Rocky City anymore. They have completely lost their minds. Those bastards almost shot down my helicopter, so you'd better find someone else. Mulligan flatly refused without even thinking about it. Lin Fengmian said patiently, Mulligan, but we really have an urgent matter. I will pay a high price. Bruce Lin, I know you yellow monkeys are very rich, but I don't buy it. The rude Mulligan did not give him face at all. Instead, he looked at the Winchester on the wall and threatened. Please leave my territory. Otherwise, I will use my precious flowers to receive you. Lin Fengmian was shocked and then said angrily, Mulligan, you don't have to give me face, but please show some respect to Mr. Jiang. He is one of the top 3 overlords on the Dark Roll, Kang Tae-chu. Kang Tae-chu? Who is that? Mulligan looked at Jiang Tian with drunken eyes and said disdainfully, sorry, I have never heard of him. Are you kidding me? The top 3 on the Dark Roll are Zeus and his gang. Since when is there a yellow monkey? Leave now. Hearing this, Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment. He slapped him 3 meters away and stuck him on the wall like a painting. Then, an invisible chi grabbed his throat and said coldly, Brother Chen, you're so arrogant. Listen up, you old drunkard. I'm going to Longyan City right now. If you son of a bitch dare to say no, I'll cut your liver into pieces and feed it to your black dog, Jennifer. Also, I am from Huaxia, not a yellow monkey. Let him go, we are going to shoot. Around them, 8 brawny men raised their guns and fired at Jiang Tian. Put down your guns. Seeing this, Huang Linger was shocked. She subconsciously raised her hand and used the divine withering technique, twine and wood thorn. Bang! Bang! A few green vines that were originally lying on the wall suddenly shot out. The vines pierced through the brawny men's palms and blood gushed out. Bang! 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 Even a few bullets that were shot out were knocked away by him. One of the brawny men was wrapped in a vine the size of a thumb and thrown 8 meters away. Magic? Goddess? When the mercenaries saw this scene, they were so shocked that they broke out in a cold sweat. They forgot about the pain and forgot to stop the bleeding. They just looked at the beautiful girl in shock, dumbstruck. Chapter 576. This woman could turn the weak vines into the sharpest weapon that could even deflect bullets. Did that mean that she could also penetrate their chests and heads? Thinking of this, the 7 or 8 brave and ruthless mercenaries no longer dared to move. Arthur widened his watery eyes and said in disbelief, You're right. She must be like the gods of the Changsho tribe, but prettier than them. At this moment, Ma Ligan's throat was choked by an invisible palm. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Suddenly, he roared and stomped his feet on the ground, causing the cement floor to crumble. The muscles on his body suddenly exploded. His dragon-like muscles bulged as if they were cast from black iron. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't break free. Get out! Then, Jiang Tian pushed gently with his right hand. With a loud boom, Molly Jen broke through the thick wall and fell out of the yard in a cloud of dust and scattered bricks. Trash! If you weren't Lin Fengmian's old friend, I would have broken your neck. Jiang Tian sat on the sofa and opened an unopened bottle of rum. He poured himself a cup and took a sip as he leisurely said. Molly Jen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and got up. He walked into the yard and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Molly Jen, don't be rash. I told you, he is the third overlord on the dark roll and the most powerful fighter in Huaxia. You are no match for him. Lin Fengmian smiled bitterly as if Molly Jen was a retard. Malajan's eyes flashed with fear. He had already felt how powerful Jiang Tian was. He could even say that Jiang Tian was like a toy to him. But he still looked at Lin Fengmian and asked unwillingly, Bruce Lin, who is he? Why have I never heard of him? You black bear, you've drunk so much rum that you've ruined your brain. Haven't you heard of these big events? Lin Fengmian said helplessly. Grandmaster Jiang once defeated the 28th Mixed Army and Air Force Brigade in Japan and destroyed hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles. So, it's him. When Ma Ligan heard this, his entire body trembled, and his eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He had actually heard of the name Kang Teichu. But the Chinese name was difficult for them to pronounce. In the dark world, they usually used Jiang for short. For a moment, he couldn't even connect the casual-looking young man in front of him with the famous demon king of the dark world. He was a mercenary and of course knew how terrifying the modern army was. Even if he was facing dozens of Marines, he would still have to avoid them and wouldn't dare to fight them head-on. What's more, one person could defeat tens of thousands of modern soldiers equipped with helicopters, tanks, and other heavy weapons. It was like a myth. Master Kang, I admire you. Malajan's eyes. Malajan's eyes. The other mercenaries also looked solemn. Their eyes were full of respect. They closed their legs and raised their right hand to their eyebrows. They gave a standard military salute to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian just nodded. Lin Fengmian took out a map and opened it on the table. We are going to a waterfall in the Longevity tribe. Do you think it's better to take a helicopter or an off-road vehicle? You guys are going to the Longevity tribe too? Malajan's face flashed with a strange look. A few groups of people came recently. They are all going to the Longevity tribe. Could the news have been leaked? Jiang Tian frowned. A lot of people came. Some are from the United Kingdom, some are from the Middle East, and some are from the United States. Molly Jen shook his head and said, they even have a picture of a red flower. It looks like a big orchid. It's super big, as tall as a person. He squinted his eyes and said, although they are disguised as technicians or tourists, I can feel their bloodthirsty aura. Many of them are super soldiers. Is this the picture? Lin Fengmian took out the picture and asked with a frown. That's right. Molly Jen nodded. It seems that the news has been leaked. Lin Fengmian's face became serious. He called Han Junfeng and asked him to verify. The news came back. It turned out that after Chen Jihao escaped from the Longevity tribe, he lost all his communication equipment and dry food supplies. He had nothing on him and could only walk to the Gold Energy Group's base. But he was hundreds of kilometers away, and there were wild beasts everywhere in the primitive jungle. Chen Jihao had no choice but to sell the news to the multinational companies and even the warlords. He exchanged for cars, weapons, and supplies before returning to the Gold Energy Group's base. It seems that we are not the only ones who are eyeing this strange flower. Master Kong, we have to hurry. Don't let others take the lead. It might be a fierce battle. Lin Fengmian's face was very serious. With me, Zhang Qianlei, there is no need to be afraid of these small fries. Zhang Qianlei rolled his eyes. Who is he? Molly Zhen asked curiously. The last celestial master of Huaxia, Master Zhang Qianlei of the Celestial Master Sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Haven't you heard of him? Lin Fengmian kept winking at Molly Zhen, wanting to show him the respect he deserved. Never heard of him. Molly Zhen was a simple and honest person. He shook his head like a rattle drum and said in broken Chinese, with Master Kong here, when will it be his turn? Zhang Qianlei was so shocked that he wanted to cry. But, to prevent any accidents from happening, let's set off now. Jiang Tian stood up. Okay. Molly Zhen quickly took out his satellite phone and called a few warlords. He said that one of his helicopters was going to pass by their territory and asked them not to open fire. Molly Zhen seemed to be a little afraid of the Longevity tribe and was unwilling to follow. When Lin Fengmian said that he needed to lead the way, Molly Zhen pulled the black child, Arthur, and said, Arthur is my servant, but he is also a child of the K tribe. The K tribe is only a few kilometers away from the Longevity tribe. Let him lead the way. Jiang Tian bent down and looked at Arthur and asked gently, Are you willing to lead the way for us? Arthur had a good impression of Jiang Tian and the others. He nodded heavily and said, I'm willing, of course I'm willing. A helicopter painted with the image of a huge black bear flew into the sky. Jiang Tian and the others sat quietly in the cabin, breathing in and out. I feel that although Sidoni has been fighting for a long time, the spirit qi is still very abundant. Huang Linger was focused on meditation and could not help but sigh. This place is actually not bad. Jiang Tian looked down. As far as the eye could see, there was a lush virgin forest. The spirit qi was indeed much more abundant than in the city. It was almost 1/10 of the spirit qi of a cultivation planet. Especially the wood element qi was very abundant, and it was very convenient to use wood element techniques. However, Zhang Qianlei's thunder art would probably not be able to unleash 100% of its power. However, Jiang Tian did not mind. Zhang Qianlei could use thunder element techniques in the dead of winter. The environment here was at least better than the peak of Mount Yen. Only a place like this can give birth to the immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid. Jiang Tian's gaze was deep as he sighed in his heart. The immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid was an upper-grade spiritual herb. If he consumed it, he would immediately advance to the 7th level of qi refinement and step into the late stage of qi refinement. The effect of an upper-grade spiritual herb was so domineering. Honorable Sir, we have reached the battlefield. We really do not dare to take the risk. When the helicopter flew for more than 100 kilometers, the pilot was unwilling to go forward. Jiang Tian also saw it. A few kilometers away, the two armies were already facing each other. The sound of artillery fire and the faint sound of gunfire could be heard. A few small towns were burning in flames, and black smoke rose into the sky. How far are we from the Longevity tribe? Lin Fengmian asked. If we walk, it might take a day. There are still more than 30 kilometers to go. Head southwest. Little Arthur held the map and gestured with his choppy Chinese to point out their current location. We have to find a place to land. Lin Fengmian said. I know there is a medical team nearby. The eyes of the executive of the Goldman Group brightened. It's the medical team from Huaxia. There should be a helicopter airport there. Also, we have a lot of medicine in the helicopter, which is what they are lacking. If we give it to them, they will definitely lend us their vehicles. I know that medical team. They have healed many people in various tribes. They used to live in our tribe. Little Arthur gave a thumbs up. Jiang Tian said, Okay, then let's land at the medical team's base first. We will walk or take a car there. 10 minutes later, the helicopter landed at a campsite that was made up of simple houses and tents. It slowly landed in the open space. Jiang Tian found that there were many corpses on the roadside 1 kilometer away from the camp. Judging from their clothes, they should be soldiers of the government. The classic camouflage uniform was soaked in blood. The bodies were swollen and looked like giants. Green flies were densely packed on them. When the black shadow of the helicopter passed by, it flew up like a black fog. "Who are you?" When Jiang Tian and the others walked out of the cabin, a middle-aged man with fair skin wearing a white coat came over and asked vigilantly. "Oh, we are from the Goldman Group. We want to go to the Changsho tribe. We want to borrow your airport and vehicles." The executive of the Goldman Group was called Lu Qua. He shook hands with the doctor and said with a smile, "How should I address you?" "Oh, my name is Ma Mingyang. I am the deputy director of the medical team in Africa." The doctor smiled a little stiffly, as if he did not welcome them. He quickly said, "Hurry up and leave with your helicopter. The rebels and government forces on both sides are fighting each other. They will be very angry when they see a helicopter." Lu Qua said, "I understand. This is Maligan's helicopter. He has spoken to the various armies. There are also some medicine. Hurry up and move it down." "Medicine? Thank you." Ma Mingyang's face was filled with joy. He quickly asked people to move the medicine. Hearing that there was medicine coming, the entire medical team was jubilant. They all ran out of the camp to get the medicine. The economy here was backward, and there was a lack of medicine. All kinds of plagues and diseases were rampant. Coupled with the years of civil war, transportation was not smooth, and there were many wounded soldiers. Even the simplest anti-inflammatory medicine was scarce. Chapter 577. Ma Mingyang immediately looked at Jiang Tian in a new light. His attitude became better, and he introduced them to Jiang Tian enthusiastically. "We are a medical team funded by the International Red Cross. We have been in Sidonie for 5 or 6 years. We have performed more than 30,000 operations and distributed medicine worth more than $2 million. Even the International Health Organization has praised us." His tone was a little arrogant and proud. It was no wonder. In such a place where the flames of war rained down, it was indeed something to be proud of for a powerless intellectual to be able to endure for so long. He could vaguely see that Jiang Tian's position in this group of people should be the highest. He smiled and asked, "Mr. Jiang, why did you suddenly come to Sidonie and go to the Changsho tribe? It is a very barbaric tribe, and the journey is very dangerous." In his opinion, Jiang Tian was just a rich young master. He didn't know what was wrong with his brain, but he came to Sidonie, which was a war-torn place. How could a rich young master like him know the hardships of the people? He is the crown prince of the Medicine King Group, Jiang Tian. The Medicine King Group also takes charity very seriously. Before the Spring Festival, they set up a Medicine King Charity Foundation to investigate the health of Sidonie and see if they can provide some help. Lin Fengyan casually made up a story. There was no need to reveal the secret of finding licorice roots to these irrelevant people. "Huh? The Medicine King Group's charity foundation is already in operation?" Jiang Tian was a little surprised. Jiang Tian's grandfather had talked about the charity foundation more than once to Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian was not in the mood to do this. At that time, he only cared about trampling on the Zhang family and fighting with the Lu and Song families. It was probably his grandfather who asked Yi Ziwei to do it. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian felt a little guilty. His grandfather must be very dissatisfied. "Ha, so you are the descendant of the Medicine King Jiang family." A beautiful nurse walked over and looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. "Are you Jiang Tian?" "It's me. Do we know each other?" Jiang Tian looked at her in surprise. "Aya, it's really you. My idol. My idol." The young nurse jumped up and down. She was so excited that her face flushed. "What idol? I don't sing or act, and I'm not a celebrity. Jiang Tian awkwardly rubbed his nose. What's so good about being a celebrity? You definitely don't know me, but I know you. The young nurse's clear and beautiful eyes sparkled as she looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of admiration. My name is Yuan Kursen, and I'm the head nurse of the medical team. Before the Spring Festival, the Medicine King Charity Foundation distributed the first batch of donations. Our medical team also applied. In order to provide information, I returned to China once and met Grandpa Jiang Changgang. He said that you're the great divine Dr. Jiang that defeated TKM. Furthermore, the prescription of the Medicine King Group was invented by you. The Medicine King Group also gave the medical team some of your company's products. We used them in Sidoni, and the effect was really good. You're simply too amazing. Your Medicine King Group is also very good. Among all the listed companies in the country, you guys are the ones who support charity the most. The first batch of donations is already 1 billion. Oh. So that's the case. It's something that we should do. Jiang Tian faintly smiled as he did not take it to heart. At this moment, little Arthur also ran over and pulled on Yuan Kursen's sleeve. Big Sister Kursen. Little Arthur. It's you. Yuan Kursen kissed his dark forehead and took out a medicine bottle from her white coat. She poured out a pill and gave it to him. Little Arthur had a sacred expression as he received it, as if he had received a treasure. After eating it, he seemed to have instantly become more energetic, and happily jumped around at the side. You gave him vitamins, right? Jiang Tian asked in astonishment. That's right. Hee hee. It's equivalent to a placebo. Yuan Kursen placed her hands in her pockets and revealed a mischievous smile. The medicine is given for free by the medical team, and as time passed, they would also like to take 1 or 2 even if they're not sick. Those black people are really cute. Jiang Tian nodded his head. Yuan Kursen's face flashed a trace of seriousness as she said softly, will you go to the K tribe? Don't go there. Their village was burned down by the army a few days ago. I didn't see any living people there. Jiang Tian calmly looked at the naive little Arthur. Even though he had been cultivating for tens of thousands of years and had been tempered by the flames of war, he could not help but feel a trace of sympathy. He nodded his head and said with a smile, you guys really don't have it easy. How much money did you get from the charity foundation? 5 million. I'll give you 10 million. Jiang Tian directly took out his satellite phone and called Yiziwei. 10 million. Young Master Jiang, you're really rich. You're so generous. Yuan Kursen worshipped. Seeing Yuan Kursen worshipping Jiang Tian, Ma Mingyang's eyes flashed a trace of displeasure. However, he concealed it well and said with a smile, well, Kursen, hurry up and move the medicine. After moving the guests, we still have to go. Okay, Mr. Jiang, you're a good person. Yuan Kursen waved her small fist at Jiang Tian and continued to busy herself. Her smile was like a flower, invincible and full of vitality. After that, Ma Mingyang was too lazy to introduce anything. He could not raise his spirits at all. The Human Medicine King Group had spent 1 billion in charity funds in one go. He had saved a few people, but he could not compare with Jiang Tian. Ma Mingyang and his men lent Jiang Tian and his men an off-road vehicle. Just as they were about to leave, a pickup truck with a heavy machine gun rolled up a cloud of dust and crashed through the red and white stripe, driving straight in. A few black soldiers in camouflage uniforms and red beret jumped out of the car and rushed over. They raised their semi-automatic rifles and surrounded Jiang Tian and his group, shouting at the top of their lungs in their native language. Arthur was so scared that he raised his hands and said, Mr. Jiang, they suspect that we are rebels and want to check our helicopter. Tell them that we are Mulligan's men. The executive of the Goldman Group said. Arthur mumbled a few words in his native language, but the other party pushed him to the ground and rushed into the helicopter. They used the barrel of their gun to lift up the carpet. There were only biscuits, purified water, and medicine underneath. However, They acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They pointed the barrel of their gun at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily. It seemed that the warlords here were too chaotic, and not all of them were convinced by Mulligan's method. Arthur translated, "They are asking you where you are transporting the medicine. Are you going to help the rebels?" Jiang Tian did not want to pay attention to these barbarians and said indifferently, "We are doctors, not soldiers." Arthur translated, and the other party stared at Jiang Tian fiercely. At this time, a shotgun with a sawed-off barrel was discovered under the pilot's seat. The black soldiers were furious and kicked the two black pilots to the ground. They ordered them to kneel down and aimed at the back of their heads. The two black pilots fell to the ground with their brains splattered. A swarm of flies flew over and laid on the brains and blood. From the beginning of the incident to the execution, it was less than a minute. Suddenly, everyone's face turned pale, and no one dared to breathe. Ma Mingyang said in a low voice. "Now the K tribe is at war. Several warlords are fighting, and they all call each other rebels. Several villages have been massacred. Originally, we contacted the government's Ministry of Health and prepared to evacuate. But the Minister of Health has just been executed, and there are rebels on the way. We don't have enough vehicles to support us, and we don't have soldiers to protect us." Hearing this, Arthur's face suddenly froze. Big drops of tears rolled down his face, but he clenched his fists and did not say a word. The government soldiers killed people, but they acted as if nothing had happened. They continued to chat and carry medicine, food, and mineral water to their pickup trucks. No one dared to say anything. Suddenly, a black soldier pointed at Arthur with a gloomy face and said loudly, "You are from the K tribe." Little Arthur was terrified. His two thin legs were shivering like sieves. The soldiers rushed over and forced little Arthur to kneel down. They wanted to execute him. The medical staff pursed their lips in grief and indignation, but they did not dare to say anything. These soldiers killed people without blinking their eyes. They were too barbaric, and they did not dare to confront them. Only Yuan Kursen came forward and pushed the black soldiers and said in English, "He is indeed from the K tribe, but he has never participated in the war. He left the tribe a year ago to work in the capital. You want to die? Don't think that because you are from Huaxia, I won't dare to kill you." A black man points a heavy pistol at Yuan Kursen's head. His eyes are wide open and he roars with a thunderous voice. Yuan Kursen's body stiffened, and she did not dare to come forward. Tears rolled down her cheeks. In the blur of tears, she saw little Arthur was forced to kneel on the ground, and the muzzle was pointed at the back of his head. She closed her eyes. Ma Mingyang and the rest also turned their heads. "Stop!" A thunderous roar exploded in the air. Several black soldiers were shocked and their heads were buzzing. They turned their heads and were surprised to see a tall and powerful young man coming out. "I told you to stop. Don't you understand what I'm saying?" Zhang Qianlei strode forward, his face full of anger. "Go to hell." They did not understand Zhang Qianlei's Chinese, but they knew it was not something good. One of the soldiers raised his pistol and was about to shoot at Zhang Qianlei. Zhang Qianlei had a fiery temper. He was annoyed when he saw them kill the black pilot, but he did not expect them to kill him so quickly. How could he let them kill him now? Zhang Qianlei's figure flashed, and he approached like a ghost and slapped down. Bang! The black soldier's head exploded like a rotten watermelon. Blood, brain, and broken bones splashed everywhere. The other soldiers were shocked and quickly turned their muzzles. Zhang Qianlei waved his fists and punched them. Bang! 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 Several soldiers fell into a pool of blood and died. The other two soldiers saw Zhang Qianlei's terrifying strength. They were so scared that they screamed and ran away. Zhang Qianlei slowly picked up the scattered bullet shells on the ground and flicked them with his fingers. Bang! Bang! The two soldiers, who had run 100 meters away, fell to the ground with blood spurting from the back of their heads. In less than a minute, 8 soldiers were killed by him. The comrades in the medical team were scared, but little Arthur shouted excitedly, "Awesome! You are a god!" Chapter 578. What an expert! Yuan Kursen looked at Zhang Qianlei in shock, then looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. This person should be young Master Zhang's bodyguard. At this time, Ma Mingyang frowned and said, "Mr. Zhang, you shouldn't kill people. It will bring us a lot of trouble." "What do you know? I need your permission to kill people. If you talk nonsense again, I'll kill you," Zhang Qianlei said with a murderous look. Jiang Tian said indifferently, "Are you going to let them kill little Arthur? Do you know that the government army will take revenge? They have a camp outside the K tribe. There are thousands of government soldiers there. It will only take half an hour for them to come and kill us." At this time, the sound of footsteps came from behind. Everyone looked back and saw several leaders of the medical team. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 40s. His hair and white coat were neat and tidy. He looked like a standard doctor, but Jiang Tian found that he exuded the unique aura of a soldier. He scanned with his divine sense and found that he had the cultivation of iron body. After the leader came over, he shook hands with Jiang Tian and said, "Mr. Jiang, I'm Zhu Jiangchao, the leader of the medical team. I've heard a lot about you, divine Dr. Jiang." Jiang Tian nodded. Zhu Jiangchao asked, "When you came, was the flight to San Juan interrupted?" "That's true. We hired a private transport company's plane. It belongs to a man named Mulligan," Jiang Tian said. At this time, Lu Kuo, the executive of Goldman Group, put down the satellite phone and said with a trembling voice, "Sidoni didn't have a direct flight to Huaxia. Now, Boss Han said that 3 hours ago, the airport was destroyed by the rebels. The international flight to San Juan from Congo and Africa was also interrupted. The Goldman Group branch in Sidoni can't retreat and is waiting for rescue." Zhu Jiangchao frowned and thought. Ma Mingyang complained from the side, "Captain Zhu, they're the ones who killed the government troops." Zhu Jiangchao stared at him sharply. Ma Mingyang stopped talking. Zhu Jiangchao smiled and said, "Mr. Jiang, I hope that we can act together. Can you wait for me to have a simple meeting?" "All right, I'll wait for you." Jiang Tian glanced at Yuan Kursen. She still left a good impression on Jiang Tian. Otherwise, she would have left long ago. With his hands behind his back, Zhu Jiangchao stood tall like a mountain and said in a deep voice, "Comrades, the current situation is very complicated and grim. The war situation is also constantly changing. We have already lost contact with the embassy, and it's very likely that a small group of rebels has already occupied the embassy." He said in a deep voice, "This morning, the comrades we sent to San Juan to purchase medicine were intercepted by the rebels and executed. All signs indicate that Sidoni is becoming more and more unsafe. The rebels are likely to occupy the capital, San Juan, within a week. Our food, drinking water, and medicine will run out." He glanced at the Goldman Group executive, and said, "According to Mr. Lu Kuo, the route to Congo and other African countries is also suspended. Now, whether to withdraw or stay, everyone, raise your hands to vote." For a moment, all the medical staff present were talking at once, but they could not come up with a plan. Jiang Tian recalled the content of the map and suddenly turned to Huang Linger, Zhang Qianlei, and the others, and said, "Let's destroy the government camp near Cass Lake first, shall we? It seems that they are on the only way to the Changshou tribe." Zhang Qianlei laughed heartily. "Yes, occupy that stronghold, there are weapons, a fortress, and the staff of the Goldman Group, as well as all the Chinese, can be saved and protected. Destroy a government camp with thousands of soldiers, are you crazy?" Ma Mingyang heard this and his face sank, and he said with dissatisfaction, "You are really crazy. Do you know that they are supported by the European Union? They have heavy artillery and tanks, and their weapons are not bad at all. Don't get us into trouble. Let's go our separate ways, okay? The car is ready, hurry up and leave. Don't cause any more trouble, think of a way to return to San Juan, go to the international airport, and hope that you can escape before the government army notices. I don't agree. Yuan Kursen said firmly, you also know that the government army is likely to take revenge on them. I suggest that we let them stay here and avoid the trouble for a while. At least we are Huaxia people, an official organization, and they won't dare to do anything. We can't stay here any longer, we have to retreat immediately and go back to San Juan Airport. Ma Mingyang looked at Jiang Tian and the others unkindly and said in a deep voice, we are already near the war zone, the rebels and the resistance army will attack soon, and then no one will survive. And now, they have killed the government army. If we take them with us, not only will the government army not support us with vehicles, they will also not escort us, and they will also kill us. We are now being bullied by both sides. Leave. But if we leave, what about the patients? Yuan Kursen frowned, you know, we are carrying out international medical aid, and we represent the country's image. If we leave these dying patients and leave, I am afraid that everything we have done before will be in vain. At this time, Zhu Jiangchao looked at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, Mr. Jiang, you said that you are confident that you can destroy the government army camp and protect us. What makes you think so? Yes, Captain Zhu, Kursen, don't listen to their nonsense, they don't have the ability to do so. How is it possible to kill thousands of government soldiers and occupy the camp? He is not a god. Ma Mingyang said impatiently. God damn it, if you don't want to go with us, we don't want to go with you either. Zhang Qianlei was annoyed. He frowned and looked at Jiang Tian, are you going or not? Hurry up and destroy the government army camp. If you don't go, I will go. Sir, please don't be angry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this concerns the lives of dozens of people, and I need to know your strength. Are you soldiers? Zhu Jiangchao smiled apologetically. Soldiers? Lin Fengyan couldn't help but smile proudly and said, Mr. Jiang is the chief consultant of War Dragon. War Dragon? What's that? Many people were puzzled because they had never heard of it. Ma Mingyang's eyes flashed with an indescribable light as he looked at Jiang Tian. Zhu Jiangchao was shocked. He looked at Jiang Tian and said in a low voice, Mr. Lin, this is not a joke. You don't believe me? Forget it, in order not to waste time, I can only show you what I can do. Jiang Tian smiled helplessly and shook his head with a sigh. Suddenly, he waved his sleeve gently. Boom! A seemingly solid golden wave of air surged out from under Jiang Tian's sleeves like a raging wave crashing against the shore. Boom! A loud noise. Not far away, the helicopter, which weighed several tons, flew 5 meters high and rolled for more than 10 meters before it crashed heavily on the ground, causing the earth to shake. Ga. Ma Mingyang was like a duck being strangled by the throat. His mouth was wide open and his eyeballs almost jumped out of his eye sockets as if he was hallucinating. Oh my God, this is too powerful. Is he still human? Yuan Kursen's beautiful eyes sparkled as she said with a fascinated face. Everyone's face was filled with shock. Former War Dragon Special Force Special Military Doctor, Captain Zhu Jiangchao, reporting to the Chief Advisor of Martial Arts. Zhu Jiangchao's face was stern. Pa! His legs were pressed together, his body was as straight as a javelin. He raised his right hand to the space between his eyebrows, and his eyes shot out a boundless light of worship as he shouted explosively with a voice like a loud bell. At ease. Jiang Tian nodded and said with a gratified face, you are indeed a member of War Dragon. Captain Zhu, I hope you can listen to the command and take responsibility. Let's fight side by side and protect all the Chinese in Sidonie. This is my responsibility. It is my duty. It is my honor. Zhu Jiangchao's blood instantly surged. Although he was injured in the battle and retired 10 years ago, he had heard of the name of this martial arts consultant from some of his comrades who were still in the service. He only felt that it was worth it to fight side by side with Mr. Zhang's martial arts consultant. The first step of the operation is to occupy the camp of the government army and form our own armed forces. Do you have the confidence? Jiang Tian said in a deep voice. Yes. Zhu Jiangchao shouted at the top of his lungs. The veins on his forehead were throbbing. Yes. Yuan Kursin and the others also shouted loudly. Only Ma Mingyang's eyes flashed with a hint of darkness as he looked at Jiang Tian with an uncertain expression. Let's start. Jiang Tian waved his hand. This time, his order had the power to topple the mountains and overturn the seas. Everyone was very confident in Jiang Tian and quickly moved. Zhu Jiangchao, the former War Dragon military doctor, stood beside Jiang Tian and shouted. Don't demolish the simple houses. There's not enough time. Let's leave them to the local residents. Take the tents and medical equipment away. Xiao Ma will be responsible for it. Xiao Hu will be responsible for organizing the cases and information. Kursin will lead the nurses to move all the patients to the ambulance. Do you understand? Lu Qua, please check the vehicles with me. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Everyone replied in unison. Half an hour later, everything was ready. Night had already fallen. 2 pickup trucks, 6 SUVs, an Iveco bus, and 2 ambulances formed a motorcade. They crushed the muddy and dusty road and headed toward the government camp near Cass Lake. The vehicles were very crowded. Dozens of medical personnel and patients were almost squeezed into sardines. The old vehicles with insufficient air conditioning were filled with the smell of sweat. It was like a steamer. Yuan Kursin looked at the starry sky through the window and said, We're really going to be nailers in Sidoni. I hope Mr. Jiang can really protect us. Suddenly, Zhang Qianlei, who was sitting on the roof of the car, jumped down and turned into a flash of blue light. Mr. Zhang, what are you going to do? They're coming. Zhang Qianlei didn't stop. He crossed 100 meters in one step and said in a thunderous voice, I'll clean them up first. This speed is too terrifying. Everyone stared at the back of that figure in fear, their mouths opened so wide that a large piece of bread could be stuffed in. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.